Winocle grip in the neon light, trading pain in the heart of the fight. Shifting gears till the edge feels right. Start 'em up, hear the engines cry. Let the thunder roll, leave no doubt. All or nothing when the checkers come out. Doors beating doors in an all-out fight. This is a Moonshiners Wednesday night. Wednesday night! Legends born in the heat of the fight. Trading pain under stadium lights. Racing roofs run deep here. We're racing on a Moonshiners Wednesday night. Every track has a story to tell. Every wall has been one driver's hell. Back in the saddle we go. Ring the bell like a moonshiner. We're riding on rails. Checkers on record. Send it in, set sail. Legends born in the heat of the fight. Trading pain under stadium lights. Racing roots run deep here. We're racing on a Moonshiners Wednesday night. This is 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 a Moonshiners Wednesday night.
Tonight, the Moonshiners Racing League visits a place where corn grows. It may sound simple for the GMD Janitorial Cup Series tonight. These drivers are going to have one major task to handle. How are they going to handle Iowa Speedway? Tonight, we are all set to go for this evening's coverage as we get ready for the Corridor Automotive 250 here on Precision Entertainment. I'm Justin Prince, alongside the booth for tonight's Dawson Wise. We're also joined by our pit reporting crew featuring Zach Case and Cody Banta. Our producer this evening is Howie Burrows. As we prepare to count down to green for tonight's festivities and talk things over, to say the very least here, Dawson, it's expected to be a wild night from start to finish because it's short track racing with a lot of big storylines coming into this week.
Yeah, a lot of big storylines indeed, JP, and we're going to get to those here in just a minute. But, just talking about this racetrack even, it's developed so much just on this week of official racing. It's changed since the last time we came to this racetrack. 3/4 mile in length, just a little over that actually, about 14 degrees of banking in the corners, 10 on the front stretch, 4 on the back stretch. The main thing we have noticed this week in official racing, JP, tires are getting eaten alive at this place. They are going quickly. If you don't know how to manage your tires, if you don't back up your pace, you are going to regret it at the end of each long run.
Yeah, I heard somewhere along the lines of, your fuel can maybe make it 90, 100, 110 laps here, but your tires are going to be at like 5% by 50, 60 laps in. It's going to be difficult in that regard. And mind you, as we take a look towards the schedule in a moment here, it's still towards the home stretch also for that run up to the chase, because you have just Richmond, Loudon, Daytona after this. You have a few short tracks and then a super speedway to score all the points you can before we go racing for 10 races for the championship.
Yeah, a couple of attrition-based short tracks here coming up. Iowa and Richmond. Again, the tire concerns tonight. Next week, going to be more like a typical Saturday night short track, fender bumping, tempers flaring type of evening. But then you get to Loudon, a unique technical flat track, the Magic Mile. That's going to be an interesting one as well. A very unique way you have to drive that place. And then what better way to end the regular season than the chaos of Daytona? I mean, we'll look at the point structure before we get going here tonight. It could not be closer than it is right now. I mean, you see it right there. From 14th down, even past our top 20, separated by just about 35 points. I think we have 9 drivers within 35 points of one another coming into tonight's race. The cut line is just 1 point difference between Christensen and Sanchez. Look at all the drivers there, 5 of them within single digits.
It's pretty tight to say the very least. And don't forget, if Nico Garcia had been here for more races at the start of the season, he would actually be right in that cut line area as well, just based on his current point tally. That's how tight it is for a lot of these drivers. We've seen ups and downs as of late for Sanchez, for Christensen especially. It's going to be so important for a lot of these competitors tonight just to keep it clean. But there's a huge note at the top of the board. You may notice Brandon Bowie's total a little bit lower than may have noticed if you checked on the Moonshiners Racing League website. That's because penalties came into play after a swap around between him and Brandon Fetterplace towards the line of the Brickyard. That led to a whole storyline and then some as a result for those two drivers, where one of the big notes, disqualification for Bowie for that race at the Brickyard, where he was up at the front most of the evening, and he ended up leaving his team and becoming an independent.
Yeah, a crazy development over the course of this week. Of course, the situation that happened a couple of weeks ago. You see how tight the point situation is there. But regardless, the penalties come out. But the fallout is even bigger of a deal coming into tonight. I mean, we're talking about a team that has been arguably the fastest, most consistent all year long. And now they have split here with just a few races to go in the regular season. For the points leader, obviously it's a huge development. Now he goes into the last 3 races and potentially into the chase, where, by the way, we still have 2 super speedways on tap later on in the year. Daytona and Talladega both still to come, where he will go into those races as an independent car. And, not with the benefit of some teammates. And for Arrow, obviously, they lose the driver in Brandon Bowie as well. It's a crazy situation, to say the absolute least. And, one that we're going to see play out over the next 4 weeks, but also over the last 10. That has a huge effect on the chase as well. Both drivers in the top 5 in the point standings.
Indeed, as you can see, as Trevor Ashwinoff, I'm not sure what he's trying to do on the racetrack for his qualifying effort, other than, I guess, search around and look at the grooves here. Let's throw it down to Zach. And Zach, one of the major things is you've talked with drivers leading into tonight. What are some of the major things you have to note as these drivers finish up qualifying?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Obviously, welcome into Iowa. And the biggest thing is we're coming off a week off, going into August. Now we're into the summer month of August, right before the chase starts. And just looking at the cutoff line, a lot of drivers really focusing in on keeping the consistency up. One of those drivers being Greg Carr, right? Plus 8 points right now on the cut line in 15th. And Nigel Christensen, a driver that's been up and down the leaderboard in the running order week after week. He's a guy that's only 1 point up over Mark Sanchez. Johnny Shade's in the picture. Chris Vincent's having a solid season so far, up and down the point standing. And even William Owens down in P20, only 11 points out. Plenty of drivers right now that could put 3 or 4 weeks together and put themselves in a good position going in the chase. I'll talk to you guys more later. I'm going to go find some corn, but I'll talk to you guys once we go green.
I mean, if you look at the infield of dreams, there's a lot of corn, to say the very least. Thank you very much, Zach. We'll hear from Cody during the grid, but it's time to head towards your Victory Designs Pole Award. Your Pole Award, once again, brought to you by Victory Designs. Alex Murray is the one who set that pole here today. The 22 machine was able to power his way to the top by 11 1/1000ths over teammate Alex Coffey. They'll start 1 and 2 tonight in their dig entries. Chris Cornett's inside the top 3, looking to see if he can prove that he can have the full name Chris or end up missing one of those letters like on social media for one driver this week. Paul Gallimore will be inside the top 4 for your grid. Brendan Fetterplace is here tonight. He'll start inside the top 5 with Corey Moore next to him. Torque will look to find some extra torque in the motor. Sean Rogers in 7th tonight. Johnny Shade is inside your top 8 this evening, underneath 2/10. Blake Hochschild will start down in the 9th spot. And there is Brandon Bowie. His 35 rounds out the top 10 here tonight, Dawson.
Some work to do for the points leader. Back on, back on row 6, Mark Sanchez in the silver 29 will start from 11th, and Greg Carr starts alongside him, a pair of drivers in that cut line conversation back on row 6. Row 7, we'll see Kyle Holden in the 97. A little bit new colors for him with bright red and yellow aboard that Simrat market entry. He'll start from 13th. Alongside him, it'll be Jose Medina, pink and white, aboard his Toyota tonight from the 14th spot. Row 8, another pair of dig entries. Timothy Harper will start from the inside in the Hardee's-inspired 23. He'll go from 15th. Alongside the yellow and black 20 for Nigel Christensen. Boy, does he need one tonight. So does William Owens. He'll start from 17th. Familiar black and orange aboard that precision-branded entry. Alongside him, blue and white, familiar for Blaine Wilson. He'll start from 18th. Top it off, Hot Sauce graces the 92 of Ryan Catalano. An up-and-down season for him to this point. Hoping to make more ups than downs tonight in the land of corn. Alongside him, Kenny Reel for Redline continues an impressive rookie campaign, but work to do for him in 20th. A number of drivers opting not to take qualifying laps as well.
Amongst the drivers who did not take qualifying times tonight, Matt Cox, Chris Davis, Trevor Ashwinoff, who spent the time playing peekaboo with the racetrack, Jeff Chandler, Jim Tree. Here's your race analysis tonight, brought to you by Precision Speed Solutions for the Corridor Automotive 250 here at Iowa Speedway. As you can see, 60-60, about 130 your distance, so 61-20, 250 on the lap marks. As we said, the fuel shouldn't be a concern as per usual in the first two stages with this car. However, it's going to be the huge thing if we see people pop tires by the time we get to the end of those first two stages.
Well, that's been a storyline all week long, is tire blowouts, especially on the right front throughout the official racing this week, throughout league racing as well. The tires are just not living past about the 50, 60, 70 lap mark unless you seriously back off the times. Again, for example, last night, got the opportunity to watch a full 170 lap race, and drivers were 1+ seconds off the pace trying to just manage tires, and even then, the fall-off ended up being pretty similar after a 60, 70, 80 lap run. So at the end of the day, you could save all you want. At the end of the run, you just got to hope that thing holds on to get you to your pit box.
We mentioned Cody Banta was standing by. Let's head over to Cody and catch up with him. Cody?
Yeah, just two things to mention. You guys were talking about tires, and just one thing to note that the track temperature for this run is about 11 degrees off of what the pace that we saw in qualifying. So that's just something also to note. I just spoke with Alex Murray and the Dig Motorsports teams, and I just asked him a few questions. What does the aerodynamic do for you guys as a team? And he said nothing. The cars feel great. There's nothing much that they changed throughout the week, and they got a really fast car. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Cody. Heard that same thing potentially from some of those in the camp. There's a reason that setup is at least top 3. And I'm not just saying that because of the logo on the network. But that being said, here are other keys here, Dawson, before we get rolling.
Well, again, I think tires is key number 1, and that's going to go without saying. We'll see it throughout the night. And key number 2 is still racing the racetrack. This is a short track. Even beyond the tires, it is a tough place to find a rhythm. Short tracks, especially ones that are a little bit more banked like Iowa, they're all about rhythm, finding a line that works, finding your momentum. It's going to be a huge part tonight. It's also been a huge part of this Gen 7 car. And point number 3, attrition. Short track races this season have been full of chaos. Tonight, we'll see its fair share. You've got to get through that to make it to the checkered flag first.
Happy to have you with us tonight here on Precision Entertainment for tonight's coverage of Moonshiners Racing League. We'll go one more lap before we get rolling here. And it's going to be fun to find out which driver in turn comes out on top, because Iowa has produced some great racing over the years. And of course, these days, a bottom feeder racetrack. Do you have a pick you think you want to talk about, Dawson? Who do you think is going to win this?
It's tough to bet against the front row, a pair of cars. We know what Alex Coffey brings. For Alex Murray, it's been a bit of a tougher stretch for him between missing races for various reasons, or having bad luck come his way, or what have you. Just has not been able to find the momentum we saw early in this rookie campaign for him. It's hard to bet against a guy like him tonight. You feel like a car this fast, a racing style that's going to suit him and their team. It's hard to bet against him. If you want to go off of the front row, I mean, look no further than Brandon Fetterplace. He's got a point to prove tonight in car 34. Would be a tough bet against him as well, a winner already this season.
Just about ready to go flying around the racetrack. It looks like the field is all set to go. It's time to start things off. The Corridor Automotive 250 is underway from Iowa. Clean start for the outside. Coffee taking it away. Murray tucks back into line. And majority of the field doing what we expect, trying to get into that newer pavement that was put here in the iRacing skid a couple years ago. And now, as the first lap's complete for the 54, everybody else bundles up and tries to keep close around the bottom.
And the interesting dynamic over the early portion of this race could be which drivers move up a lane and try to go. This has been a storyline all week. Guys want to save tires. The outside lane is for guys that want to push the pace and see what they can get out of their race cars. Answer number one, Corey Moore. He's already +4 on the night, looking for second on Coffee here to turn one. Move him to P2. As Murray and company try to save, Corey Moore says, I don't want none of that. I want to see what this thing's got early in this race. He goes all the way to the second spot and now chases Coffee.
Good start, and we already seen the importance coming out of that Van Louis Sickles Resource Zone tonight. It's going to be so critical in the first place to get the launch and to set up on some of these runs. We've seen that from Coffee from the get-go. As everyone goes along and zips their way through, stage one in this series, remember, is brought to you by Collegiate Football Simulation League, the top collegiate simulation league. Create your legacy by visiting collegesimleague.com today. As you can see, a lot of these drivers are already battling towards the rear of the group. See Holden. He's one of the drivers that's going to be holding the ship because Barry Sanders currently dealing with the family situation, as we currently see with the 88 not here tonight. He's going to be a big part of the upcoming next few weeks for the series. We'll keep an eye on the 97 as everyone else has gone into a conga line.
And Alex Coffey, the race leader, has actually backed the pace down over the last couple laps. He actually was a 1/10.5 slower than Corey Moore last time around, running 23.50. So he has backed the pace down quite a bit up here at the front of the field, trying to manage his own tires now that he has gotten away with the lead, gotten a chance to get comfortable and kind of find that middle ground pace to where you can manage your tires but also maintain the race lead. Some drivers are starting to get a little bit antsy behind him, though. Paul Gallimore's taking a couple looks out of line. That's the Chrome 11, fourth in line. And another one's going to take a look for the race lead. Corey Moore to the outside of Alex Coffey. The go button has been pressed since the jump for that yellow and black precision branded entry, and he'll go all the way to the point here in 3 and 4. New leader, Corey Moore, for the first time on lap 7.
Corey Moore, 8th in the points coming into today. Just one pole, but has also picked up a fair few top 10s. Now up at the front, as said, Rogers amongst those attacking Cornette, who started off pretty solid. Had some various posts about his different series where he's picked up new paint schemes. The funny thing is, his paint scheme designer forgot to put the R in his name on social media, so his team for a couple days was calling him, I don't know how to pronounce this, Chis? C-H-I-S. It's become a little bit of an inside joke, and I think it's gone back to normal, but hey, let's make that a thing again.
I mean, if it works, it works. If he wins getting called Chis Cornette, I think he's going to continue to call himself that going forward here. But that's another driver I expected to be on the move early, and now he has started to kind of press the go button just a little bit. Behind him, Sean Rogers is starting to pick up the pace. Further back, Carr, Harper, and Owens are the cars on the move outside the top 10, gaining some spots early in this race. As the feeling out process, I thought would take about 30 laps for some drivers. Moore, Cornette, Rogers, and others, it's going to take about 10. And they just get too antsy. They can't help themselves. They want to go race. Cornette around Murray, that's for 3rd. Rogers trying to get 4th. And Sean Rogers, he hit the go button all of a sudden. He had backed the pace down 3, 4, 5 tenths. All of a sudden now he's up the outside making up ground.
This has to be a tire save test, doesn't it?
100%. Absolutely. It's trying to save tire, but for Rogers and Moore and Cornette and others further back, Owens and Harper, you'd imagine, maybe they want to go forward and then save tire, kind of like Bristol a couple years ago in the Food City 500. The first time we saw the true tire race, the disaster tire race in the next-gen car back in 2024, you saw some drivers drive right to the front. Ironically, Ty Gibbs drove a blue and white 54 that day, just like Alex Coffey's gone on today, but nonetheless, drivers got to the front and then they opted to save. There were several different mindsets involved in that. I think you're seeing that so far today as well.
Now, this entire field, it feels like, is just conserve, conserve, conserve. This has almost been the most conservative Iowa race I've seen to start yet at a circuit like this. And even in some other races, we've seen drivers use the second line a little bit, try and battle it out in the early stages. track temp is going up. It's already up 100 to 116 degrees. It's going rapidly quick as we turn more and more rubber, and that's going to mean a lot of these teams, as we go about, have to adjust, because that's the big thing. It's a short track. That curve is going to go up every time you get a green flag run.
You're already seeing teams adjust. Again, guys that were +3, +4, Rogers, Harper, Owens have all backed their pace down now. Towards the tail end of the field, a couple other drivers are on the move. Kenny Reel gained 3 spots in the first 8 laps of the race, and he has just sat back in the 17th spot now as this race gets into a run and has started to manage his own tires. So you've kind of seen, the feeling out process of, okay, how far can I push it? And now drivers have settled in for the most part. As soon as I say that, though, here's a move. Rogers to the inside of Cornette. He wants 3rd. So his car appears to be handling well in the early portions. Curious to see as this thing gets later in the run and you continue to see the fall off in the tires, how that car will continue to handle. For what it's worth, Corey Moore's best lap of the race is a 23.22. His last lap, a 23.98. 7/10 fall off, and we're only 16 laps in. In fact, that time, 24.16, 9/10 off of his best time already, 15 laps into this one.
Yeah, this entire pack is getting backed up more and more here early on. It's a beautiful cams brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams here tonight once again as we continue to see just how some of these drivers plan things out. This entire lead train is about 4 second separation, give or take, loosely connected 3 different packs with amongst the top 14 right now. The first side-by-side has Harper that just tried the inside. The problem is, seen in the background there, Carr got the run on the high side and his new look 25. This is to say, as this all goes about, seconds about to change. Look at Rogers, got the cut out of 4. Here comes the BMP car.
And again, Coffey is back down the pace. We saw him kind of go a little bit early, get away with the lead, and now has really back down into conserve mode. We've seen Alex Coffey do this before a number of times, even when the tires aren't getting eaten alive. He loves the conserve strat. He loves to conserve the race car and the tires on it, and then go later in the run when this thing gets into a green flag run later in the stage. He likes to hit the go button and be able to go and make passes, and we know he can do just that, so no surprise for him. For Rogers, he continues to work forward. He's on the Corey Moore side of things. He wants to go and get clean air and get space and get track position. That's the most important things for those two cars. For cars 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th in line, they're good to just ride, poke a headlight out, make sure you turn through the corner, but save the good years for later in the run. This stage is going to feel longer the longer it goes. We're only 21 laps in, only a third of this first stage complete. The more laps you put on these tires, the harder it's going to get to drive the race car, the longer each one is going to feel further back. Carr now trying on Johnny Shade as Harper will shade along with him on the outside of the racetrack as maybe a pass just in front of Harper. Harper's tried to pass on Carr a couple times, and Carr says, I can do that too, and goes right on by Johnny Shade.
There's a look right there, and as you can see, he did change up the paint scheme as mentioned here this week with everything going on. He is one of the first to engage machines, running the Majula C Speed Shop base essentially for tonight. It's looking pretty solid so far now that he's found the outside working. Timothy Harper, now that he's been able to shuffle behind, he's been trying to attack that 25 a couple times. Every time, though, cars just hit the gas and pass on the outside, just like how Murray's passing Cornette.
And that's going to be, again, the strategy tonight. Again, it takes me back to that Bristol race a couple of years ago, and it's been a couple of them now since then in the NASCAR Cup Series. Guys using the second lane to go make a pass and jumping right back down to the bottom to start saving tires again. So you can kind of hit the go button on one end of the speedway, get the spot, jump back down in line, and go right back to where you were before. And now we're going to play some musical chairs here in the top 5. Cornette wants that spot back from Alex Murray, and now the question becomes, how hard do you run to defend the spot if you're one of these cars up here when you're going back and forth? At what point is it too much? At one point do you say this is not worth it on lap 25? I'm just going to ride in line. Looks like Cornette has thought better of it there in car 84. He will file in behind Murray, move them from 4th to 5th and 5th to 4th respectively. Behind them, now other cars starting to get on the move that I've noticed. Blake Hochschild, car 38, blue and white, starting to work his way into this battle that goes all the way up to Alex Coffey. He's picked up the pace just a little bit right in front of Greg Carr.
Yeah, not bad at all so far. We're seeing as Gallimore goes for the attack, deep send. was already on the apron just about, trying to go so deep in. But the Chrome 11 not willing to use the Chrome horn as Cornet wrecks into the wall. Goes the 84. A slam for the right front fender. And Cornet is very much wounded in the 0X sim racing machine. The 84's in trouble. Here's a look.
It looks like he may have just shattered the rear tires trying to jump back in the power off of turn 2, and does look like that is the case. Again, just slides the rears just a little. That hot track certainly does not help that. And lucky for Paul Gallimore, Cornet was able to kind of just bounce off the wall a little and not come back down and collect the 11. And that would have collected multiple cars. That was right where that big gaggle of cars looking for fifth on back was running. Very lucky there. Cornet was able to hold it against the wall and come back down on the racetrack.
Yeah, and again, your replays in this series brought to you by Top It Up Hot Sauce here this evening. And right now, a little bit of hot sauce potentially at the side of that 84 to try and fix things up later. Cards Amatsu is going to attack. You also have hot shield that's already passed on by his teammate. And obviously, aerodynamics is going to be so critical like every week. That's the problem here. When you have a hit like that with the 84, it not only breaks the aero, it breaks your suspension. Look at this charge, though, for Murray. Already looking to pass by for third again.
Yeah, this is going to be something I wanted to bring up as this run went on as well, is when drivers decided to kind of turn the temperature up, to turn the pace back up, and start using more of the rubber on the cars. I wondered how many laps it would take for drivers to kind of get out of conserved mode and start to go and start to pick up some track position, and we're starting to see some cars pick it up. Blake Hochschild is one of them. He's made a couple of passes later on in this run. Again, he still continues to run right in front of Cornet. He's trying to attack Brandon Fetterplace now. Timothy Harper is starting to get on that train once again. Kyle Holden has picked up a couple spots in this race now. And now you're starting to see some of the front runners do it. Alex Murray appears to be picking it up. And here comes Gallimore into this battle as well. A pair of cars maybe starting to teeter on, trying to make passes and get back to where they were to start this race.
Exactly. You see the shuffles on the board, in fact, with what's going on so far here tonight. Some good battles across the field in times, but right now, it's been hard to pick up double-digit spots, to say the very least. The majority of the drivers, outside of maybe your top two and Timothy Harper, are running about in the ballpark where they began this race. A couple have plummeted, like Johnny Shade and Blaine Wilson, but most have been able to maintain. It is worth noting that Jim Treat started this race on pit road tonight. But the funny thing is, if you look at Harper battle, the 42 has actually stayed at the same pace, if not quicker, than the race leader, and that's why everyone's still in the lead lap.
Well, that's the benefit of a tire save style race for Jim Treat, is you just have to run the slightest bit faster. If you can know what the leaders are running, if you have some communication with team cars to know kind of what the leaders are running pace-wise, you can kind of keep that up just in front of the race leader and stay on the lead lap. You're going to use a little bit more tire, that's for sure, but just staying 8, 10, 12 car lengths out in front of the race leader can really benefit Jim Treat, potentially keep him on the lead lap to end stage 1. Again, to pit start at a short track almost guarantees that you'll go a lap down. It's 34, make it 35 laps in, and Jim Treat continues to run 12 car lengths in front of the race leaders. So for now, it's all working for Treat. We'll see if he can keep it up later in the stage. Murray has been working a little bit further up. This is as far up as I've seen anybody run in this race. He goes almost to the third lane, carries the momentum down the backstretch, and he will attack Coffey here to turn 3. He's experimenting with lines. Now Coffey works up that high. They're working slower and slower towards that seam up there where the new pavement ends and old pavement begins.
Track temp just reached 124, by the way, so you better be careful with how slick it's getting out there. It is cooking. That rise went up, what, near 20 degrees over the course of the race, Cody?
Yeah, just some of the teams, and just listening over to their radios, they're reporting a little bit of that tire fall off, so that track temp is definitely a major factor to look into, JP.
And Zach, over to you. You have more information on one of the drivers, top 10 of the points, who has been fading into the second group.
Yeah, thanks, JP. Chris Davis right now running in 22nd on the track for Aero, and just listening into team communication, just holding on to the tires and making sure to keep race pace, not trying to overpush, not trying to go up through the field, just maintaining here in stage 1. Back up to you guys.
Thank you very much. And The tough thing about that, remember, Arrow's essentially down to half staff here tonight with no Sanders, of course with Bowie no longer in that camp. It's an interesting situation there where you lose respective data, still similar speed, but it definitely affects your balancing board, if you will, compared to the units that have stayed together much of the season, like the battle you see here.
It's less voices, less input, on where the setup is going and what adjustments are going to be made, and what changes you can make to do something one way or another to a car. To lose a couple of voices this week in the air definitely hurts. As we take a quick look back at the Top It Off Hot Sauce Company replay back around the William Owens machine. This was, at the time, just outside of the top 10 with he and Mark Sanchez. Again, a pair of cars down around the cut line coming into tonight's race. Owens had been going a little bit more than most early, and they make some contact there, go through the grass. Big save for William Owens. That's, again, a potential huge point saver for him.
That could have been disastrous. Again, your Top It Off Hot Sauce Company replays brought to you by Top It Off Hot Sauce. Receive 15% off your entire order. Top It Off Sauce using the code MRL15. Or Mark Sanchez getting a little bit saucy with the contact there in part there. Sanchez, for reference, he's still running down at 15th position after that bit of contact as we resume back to live action. We're already under 20 laps to go on the stage this time by. Treat did fall a lap down as his pace did fall off a few tenths per lap to the leader. The leaders are still separated by just 3 car lanes, but it has stayed about that distance, if not a small little increase of closure from Rogers over the past 20 laps.
He gained a lot early once he got to the second position. Now he's starting to pick up quite a bit more, at least visually. It's down to about 5 car lengths now, so potentially a battle for the lead here late in stage 1 if this pace continues for Rogers. Finishing a couple of things I was talking about a second ago. For Davis, we've seen him get better as the race goes on. I think you'll anticipate the 87 will continue to pick up speed as the night goes after this feeling out process ends. For the cars that just crashed a moment ago, Sanchez and Owens are half crashed, if you will. For them, it shows that going early in this race can have its downfalls right there. Again, the rear's not responding for Owens off the corner, similar to what we saw for Chris Cornett earlier. It's beginning to become a trend. A couple of cars that went early kind of smoked up the rears just a little bit and got out of shape. And boy, oh boy, as Rogers turned the heat up on Corey Moore here up front, he is within a half a car length here on turn 4, 16 to go in the stage. The battle for the lead is on.
Here we go. Look at the cut to the inside. 44 trying to go for the send. Does Moore let him have it? Or does he fight it? Not going to squeeze him down, but he will try and get the run. Moore's a little bit tighter, though, a little higher up the track. Rogers has the preferred line and can try and clear if he grinds away. Doesn't even need to do that. He makes the pass. It's Rogers up in front.
And the difference between these two cars is Corey Moore, although he backed the pace down a little once he got to the race lead, went so hard early you wonder if he put a little bit too much into those Goodyear Eagles where Sean Rogers saved for a little while. Even if it wasn't half the run, it was only about 15 laps before Sean Rogers really got on his horse. That 15 laps, you just saw the difference right there as Rogers was able to rotate the bottom, go right underneath Corey Moore, make the pass, drive on by. Now it's put 6 car lengths between himself and the 19. As we continue to watch further back in the top 5, Alex Murray's created some space between himself and Coffey, and here's the battle for 4th. Paul Gallimore started to turn the temperature up a little bit late in the run, as well as he tries to go to a plan of attack on Alex Coffey here. This would be for P4. Look at where Coffey is running over here in 3 and 4. He's continued to run up near that seam.
Yeah, a little bit higher up than most people started this race on at. And I will say, it takes a good car to do that. I've noticed the difference, though, between him and, say, Johnny Shade, the 45, who's plummeted down to 14th here in this 60-lap first stage here. Cody, you've got more information on Johnny Shade.
Yeah, it just looks like he burned up his equipment too much. And just one thing to mention, he's been the second driver to drop the most significant spot, so it looks like he's driving it in.
Been noticing that as well as you take a look at the battle just up the road from Matt Cox. Very quiet night for the 00 tonight. You expect him to be up at the front usually by the later stages, but Matt so far, he's up 10. He's your only double-digit mover.
It's been a steady increase for Matt Cox. Sometimes we'll see him drive 15, 16 spots in 25, 30 laps. It's been a slower grind tonight, But with the tire wear, again, I think it's playing exactly into how he wants to run this race. Started back in 21st and has slowly started to just pick off cars. As drivers burn up tires, Cox spent a really long time early in this race saving and is paying it off here late in the stage, paying it off with some track position for later. Man, the mess back here around Carr, Real, Sanchez, and some others. Back here towards the middle part of the pack, 3 wide for a moment as Greg Carr is going backwards and backwards in a hurry.
Yeah, he did not get a good run through 3 and 4. Drivers like Real said, I need to go. And Real sends it in with slide instead. Right into Christensen. Car gets collected. We're under caution for the first time tonight.
And postseason implications between these two cars. 2 cars down around the cut line. Both have damage. And check the suspension on Kenny Real. I thought for a moment he would drive out of this and make the save until Christensen came on and hit him right in the driver's side number. Bam! Right there in the 99 on the left side door. Both cars, potential major damage, and that may just wrap up our stage.
And here's the important thing. Remember, in real life, they made the rule. It's now within 10 to go can end the stage, is the possibility here. It is announced by Race Control. That is your stage early, Zach, and that is going to be huge. A lot more longer run in stage 2.
Oh, I 100% agree with you there, and Dawson already alluded to it. The points implication, the biggest factor there in that wreck, and you guys see the replays up on the Jumbotron there as I walk around the racetrack, and Christensen involved, right? Greg Carr involved, a couple drivers, Kenny Real, all 3 of those drivers all inside the top 16 and all getting caught up in this one. Back up to you guys.
Absolutely going to be important as the drivers finished up pit road. Only Christensen stayed out but should come back down. Rogers peels off with Moore, Murray, Coffey, Gallimore inside your top 5.
Yeah, major points implications. I mean, if you're one of those guys that's outside looking in now, looking up at Greg Carr and Kenny Real and Nigel Christensen, boy, licking your chops here as this race continues on.
And Carr is meatball adhering, so he's got a meatball flag that he still has to come down and get served. He might have popped the tire, actually, but he was also part of the contact. Could be either or. But regardless, this is an interesting dynamic of the rule for this series now. Is obviously in real life, that's being done to shorten the caution periods, if you will, because they don't want to where they have... In real life, they can go up to 7 laps of caution, restack for a restart to end the stage, never caution. You take 25, 30 minutes to go through about 15 laps of green flag racing, maybe less. That's now into play here in this series, and it's going to, we've seen in a couple other series that do have a destination point, Dawson. It does impact how you plan your strategy on tires or fuel.
Oh, it 100% changes the strategy because of the shorter caution periods that we have here on the iRacing service. And we could go 3, maybe 4 laps at some shorter racetracks under the caution flag, and we're right back under green. So you've now gone from anything inside of 5 laps to go in ends the stage to you have to plan from 10 laps to go. And at some of the racetracks we're going to later on, in the regular season and into the chase, it completely changes the way you're going to strategize. Number 1, the tires and fuel. Number 2, whether or not you flip the stage. How many times this season have we seen a driver opt to flip the stage? You could have that in your mind the whole first stage, the whole second stage, to flip it with 3 to go. You almost wonder if that's no longer on the cards because of the risk of the stage ending 5, 6, 7 laps earlier than you anticipate.
So again, that's seen Rogers, of course, pick up a stage win in theory. So, that being said, this stage is going to end up being about 5 laps longer than the original scheduled distance. From the distances tonight, the 44 ready to fly, the 19 alongside, up in your front row. Pace car is off, field is set. Green, 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 back on the way. Rogers with a good jump, and Coffey comes with.
Now you wonder how much do drivers learn in stage 1 and how much will they continue to keep the pace back down. Rogers right away with the lead, and Coffey, similar to the opening start, takes the run off the outside, goes all the way to second. He may challenge for the lead. By the time they make it to 3, he will dive in. 3rd, almost to the lead. Rogers runs him all the way to the white paint and says, no sir, not so fast.
So that restart for the Van Louis Stickers restart zone, setting things up well for the 44 and Co. but a majority are single file. As you would expect, someone like Timothy Harper is trying to push the envelope, but doesn't seem to have his sea legs underneath him, if you will. Trying to really get the outside to work, but hasn't gotten the roll yet. Now he does with a checkup from Fetter Place.
I think the interesting dynamic as drivers opt to now start to go is, at most racetracks, yes, the tire wear is a factor, but you're racing 100%, even sometimes further than that, for a lot of the opening parts of the run. Corey Moore makes the pass on Alex Goffey. Harper is going to come with him. Holden trying to join them as well. He's the other car up on the outside. But at other racetracks, you will be racing at full speed, 100, 105, 110% for all of the first stage. And then you can go right at it again. Now these drivers are having to kind of turn the temperature up middle stages of the race and get their legs under them, like you mentioned a moment ago. From the jump of the race, a lot different than trying to do it mid-race. You've been conserving, and all of a sudden you decide, I think I'll go for it now. It takes a little bit to get not only mentally locked in, but get your car wound up and get moving to the front. But Harper now has got his legs underneath him. He's all the way up to third.
He's on the charge. We're at the last lap of what was the original distance here, as you can see. Keep an eye on what some of the other drivers do here with Rogers still holding up in front. Everybody taking the service, obviously, since the stage, as was reported, was announced to the drivers would come real close, so should see everyone zip on through here. Look at that charge. Kyle Holden trying to go after Harper. Zip their way down the front straightaway. If you want a double confirmation, there it is. We stay green, and they'll go that extra 5 laps. Cody, to you.
Yeah, just a few things to note. There's been some talks about maybe some of these teams splitting up the stage just because of how bad the tire wear. Just for reference, it was about 45% reported on those right rears. Some of these drivers even reported as low as 18%, Justin.
That is very low, Cody, absolutely. And Dawson, the thing is, once you get past a certain point around 50%, those tires start rapidly wearing more than just staying above 50 at a track like this.
And I'd be so curious to know the car that reported 18% on the right rear. Was it a car that was saving on that first run? And if that's the case, and 18%, we only ran 54 laps under the green flag. Less than that, actually. We only ran about 52 laps under the green flag right there. I mean, if it's a driver that's not saving 52 laps and you are dangerously close to a potential tire blowout, this stage, 15 laps longer, if this one gets into a green flag run, again, I think the split stage strategy is going to come into play, but man, that third stage, 130 laps, and we're down that close to the edge in just 54. How interesting is that going to make stage 3 strategy switch for fourth? Here comes Matt Cox. You talked about him being quiet a moment ago, JP. He must have heard you. Not quite as quiet this time for Matt Cox in the double zeros. He's on the move. Another driver starting to move further back, the points leader, Brandon Bowie.
Haven't really heard from him too much. By the way, the number for the tires hearing may have had a 4 and a 2 in it, but regardless, Bowie, he has kind of been silent compared to someone like a Harper or a Cox on some of the moves. And Kyle Holden, hold on a second, just took over second. So a lot of those who played safer in stage 1, that we said, keep an eye on stage 2, like one of the Aero cars, is in the mix. Let's take a look at the top of the Hot Sauce Company replay and see how this developed a moment ago.
Very similar to Corey Moore's passes earlier in the race for second for the lead when he started to kind of make the moves happen and hit the go button. And man, Holden trying to make it one spot better as we get back ready for live action. He's going for the spot on Rogers. Not going to get it there, but he may try it again here in turn 1. All of a sudden, Kyle Holden has kind of hit the, we'll call it the Corey Moore button, I guess. In stage 1, it was Moore that went this hard early in the stage, got right to the lead. It almost paid off for him. Holden's going to try it here in stage 2 as he drives from 6th to the lead in the first 12 laps of stage 2.
Of course, you have to remember it's a little bit cooler compared to the end of the last run, but that's going to skyrocket possibly. The sim time, though, will be a factor for the conditions as we go on. We're almost at 4 o'clock, so we might get to late afternoon to early evening conditions. That'll impact your temperatures in a little bit. That being said here, Holden now trying to find a way to get back to victory lane, obviously in this series, has won once this season. It's going to be interesting to see if he can break through again, because he did that, remember, over at Naval Base Coronado, over at Qualcomm Circuit. This is not a road course, obviously, unless you find that layout with the Legacy Iowa.
Yeah, shout out to the old Legacy Iowa road course layout. But for Holden, road course ace, obviously we know what he brings to those tracks, but to be a championship contender, you have got to get the job done on the ovals in every discipline, and so far tonight, it's wound up. Now, will this strategy work for him on a longer stage? That remains to be seen, but I think that's what you're seeing in the aggression. He knows he's got to have some success on an oval, grab some stage points, get that confidence going for him, and a track like Iowa, so far so good for Kyle Holden. Further back, a mess back around Murray. Coffey just got out of this a moment ago, so did Bowie as he works forward to 10th, but Alex Murray's in the middle of a hornet's nest back here around Medina, Catalano, Owens, Davis, and others.
It's become a bit of a nesting doll kind of situation where you almost have things build up, build up, build up. You still see a couple of the drivers like Fetter Place ride, but Zach, you have more information on your second place drivers, Sean Rogers.
Yeah, Rogers was just reporting at the end of stage 1. He was happy where his right rear tire wear was at percentage-wise. Couldn't get an exact number, maybe confidential information, but happy with where it was, and he's excited for stage 2.
Cody, to you.
Yeah, just to follow after that, 29 cars all the way down to 12 spots lost from where he started in qualifying, so there may be a little bit of different strategies to go ahead and mix up the stage, JP.
That's one of the first to engage machines that has no damage, but has been really backing it down. You still see the battle on the screen. Fetter Place passing by Harper on the outside, or at least keeping up on the outside. This field's starting to see a bit of a different dynamic, though, where it was about 14 staying loosely connected within 4 seconds. The top 5 this run are 2/10 quicker than this entire gaggle you see here.
And I'm so curious about that because we saw last run, we saw some of the percentages. We just heard the report on Sean Rogers and his pace, but he was able to kind of manage his pace last run. He's not done so quite as much in this second stage in the first 20 laps as he continues to run behind Kyle Holden. Now he started to back it up just a little, but certainly not the save that we saw from him in stage 1. So I think for a couple of the drivers that may be happy where they were at the end of that stage, this stage, 5 laps longer and potentially a longer green flag run to end it. You wonder how this is going to pay off to really hit go earlier. I mean, we're seeing Matt Cox again maintain P4 right now. He is higher than he's been all race long in the 00, though he's potentially going to face a challenge here from Paul Gallimore in just a moment. His teammate in the 11, a pair of BMP entries 4th and 5th. But a couple other drivers, again, are hitting the go button more so than we saw last run. Fetter Place just made the pass on Harper. Ryan Catalano started to pick up some spots. Bowie has started to pick up some spots. Medina. So a trio of cars back 9th, 10th, and 11th. Guys are starting to pick up the pace more than stage 1. And for a longer stage 2, I'm really curious to see how this turns out, especially on the right rear of the car.
And the big thing is adjustment side of things. And curious on this, Zach, were you a part of those that was working on setup things? And if so, what were some of the main things you were thinking adjustment-wise for this Cup car to make sure you're in the right ballpark on speed for this part of the run here at Iowa?
I mean, overall, JP, it's just constantly remembering where your ride height is, what are you doing with the tire pressures, and when you get into the race, it's all about what you're doing with that spring offset on the rear end of the car and how you're going to adjust it up front to offset that, right? You want to be loose going into turn entry, you're going to make adjustments for that. You want to be able to corner the car a little bit in the center, you want to make adjustments for that with the tire pressure and those spring offsets. So, I mean, you brought the setup you have now for all the teams, and now the difference is what do you work on with everyone on your team to make those adjustments mid-race?
Exactly. And I'm curious in terms of which direction. It depends team to team, obviously, too, what the workbook says, because some teams and some builders, obviously, Dawson, will live and die by the, if you want to make an adjustment for this amount of fuel, you have to have this exact number. Others are more free-flowing in terms of the feel of the car. It really depends on what you want and how much you want your car to represent a Coke bottle.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, obviously, as we get into the later stages of the race, it also can come down to driver preference as well. What does the driver actually feel in the steering wheel as well as they're going down the banking? And how is the track developed over the race? And where do you change that number from there? You may have a number written down. The race conditions may change and that number is going to change along with it of where you want the tire pressure to be, where you want that spring offset to be. That may change, from now over the next 30 laps, that number may change. So I think you're going to see this race continue to evolve, and drivers continue to have different preferences as well for where they want that number. If it was for me personally, I want as little tire slide as possible. That's the biggest thing about this Gen 7 race car, when you can really wear the tires, is when they slide, when they especially slide on entry. That's going to eat those tires alive. You want to get as clean down to the white paint as possible without sliding the tires, especially the rears, knowing that right rear has been the point of emphasis tonight. I would want the car to get down there as cleanly as possible. No slides to keep that rear from wearing any more than it already is.
1 second of fall off, mind you, on the racetrack, by the way, as Corey Moore is still searching for a different line for the air. It's not working as well for Nick Rogers at the moment. Here's a look deeper in the order. Ryan Catalano, the top of hot sauce guy for the red line machine. In Munster's train featuring Bowie, Coffey has fallen back into this group, in fact. His pace is 0.3 off of where it was in the last run. I think he might have gone the wrong direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Going the wrong direction, but we've seen this before from Alex Coffey, and it sometimes is by design. He'll go backwards, save ultra hard on the tires, especially knowing now where that number was at on the tire wear after stage 1. He'll save extremely hard early in the run so that he has the freedom to do what others can't later. You see the track temp, it's gone down just a little bit, plateaued there towards the end of the stage and early here in stage 2, but it has started to drift down a little bit, down to 116. As here's a move to the inside. Jose Medina's gotten on his horse just a little bit here. He tries to go around Murray for the 11th spot. Medina getting a little bit racy, along with Catalano and Bowie starting to move forward.
Don't forget, Medina actually has a mathematical chance for the chase. You know how you make it if you're his case? You have to be the fastest car you've been all season. That first engage machine right on 22nd on the point. See Murray clear on by Catalano. Obviously, if you're someone like Medina, it's the big thing on, can you improve over the season in the magnitude of different leagues you run? And we're seeing tonight, the 24th at the very least, compared to the others, has done a good job, at least in the mid-run. The big separation point is coming up right here as we're already almost to lap 90. We're already 35 laps of the run, including the pit stop.
Yeah, and it's about the little victories for, a driver like Jose Medina, kind of finding the little bit at a time for the 24. Okay, what can I do next week to get just a little bit better? What can I do this next week? Just having those little victories. It's a long season. It's a marathon. So to have victories throughout the season where you can check boxes and move on to the next one, that's a big deal for Medina. If he could get inside the top 10, start to gather some points in this race, and have a good week going on to Richmond next week, I think that's a win for car and Team 24. We were just on board with Chris Davis a moment ago. We'll go up front for a second because Matt Cox challenges Corey Moore for the second spot, or for the third spot. As we looked back just a moment ago, these two continue to work side by side. Chris Davis, I said it earlier, to get faster throughout the race, up to P13, getting faster as this race goes on. Looking back again, Kenny Reilly's had trouble tonight. One of the drivers down around the cut line. May have had some trouble over in turn 1. This was a problem area for him earlier in the race. And is it the same problem again for car 99?
I don't think so. But he apologized on the radio hearing, the communications. So I think at the very least there was something he felt like he did with Wilson on the line, or maybe squeezed him, got close on contact. About race communication, something obviously, but the way he handled those previous corners, he thought, I need to apologize. And that's the thing. Some drivers will do that courtesy-wise, as Cox, by the way, on the bumper of the 19, rides the rear end.
And now Matt Cox starting to find the wheelhouse here for the 00 here as this run gets later and later. Man, but see right there, he follows Moore into the corner, drives up the racetrack. As this race has gone on, the dig cars are the first two to do it. Moore ran up there, Coffey ran up there, Murray's run up there a couple of times. But now Matt Cox is starting to run that higher lane in 3 and 4 as well. He'll dive to the inside of Moore once again here off turn 4. But more and more cars are starting to work up the racetrack, try to find some grip, try to find some speed. And the higher you can arc your corner, the more you can arc your entry, the more you can take the load off that right rear tire as well. You don't want to be up there the whole corner like a few of these guys have tried to do, but to start up there and arc the corner, it just saves a little bit of load on the right side tires.
Just as that third place battle heats up, the race lead battle heats up. I've noticed this trend both runs after 30 laps. This is where Beast Mode Performance seems to be stepping up their speed. They have a TWRS base usually for their camp. Seems as though that might actually be saving tires a little bit better than most of the yards in the pack if they've got the speed to battle this up at the front yet again. Rogers got loose, had to settle back in.
Again, chatter the rear tires off turn 4, trying to get too much out of him. He'll dive right back to the inside, and it's very reminiscent of the race at North Wilkesboro back in the month of July, where those cars, again, after about 25-30 laps, both he and Gallimore, but Rogers especially, the car just picked up after about 25-30 laps into a run. He was able to not only hit his marks, but that car was absolutely dialed in. It appears that that is the case once more tonight in Newton, Iowa. To the inside again, Rogers this time. Holden runs up on the seam. Rogers noses ahead. Holden runs the outside, though, and will play some defense here off of turn 2. But how much are you willing to give? You're holding almost some contact there down the back straightaway.
A little bit of near contact, but yet again, Holden giving space. Jeff Chandler just parked it for the night. He's now out of the race. All while the 44 takes his car to the front of the race. Sean Rogers, who had speed when we had a technical blip a couple weeks ago in North Wilkesboro, hoping that's not an omen for tonight. He's now the leader and seems like it's his car on the long run. His teammate Gallimore still trying to battle with Moore, who's fallen on into the clutches of this 11 machine.
I'm really curious what the 00 runs of Matt Cox at 10th, faster than Rogers. That time by for P3, Matt Cox further back. Coffee on the move just a little bit. He'll go around Brandon Fetterplace. This is for P7 on the racetrack right now as we reach the lap 100 mark here in just a couple of more times around this 3/4 mile speedway. So Coffee back to 7th. He's starting to pick up the pace just a little bit. But Matt Cox has matched, if not bettered, the race leaders' times. This time by, they go even again, 61 to a 63 from Rogers to Cox. But Rogers' other teammate, Matt Cox, starting to match the pace. He's now running down Kyle Holden as well. Another one of those BMP cars picking up speed late in the run.
If you see some of the speed difference first to third for comparison, lost time last time. But this time by, let's see the difference as they zoom by the start and finish line, back on the red. So yeah, hasn't been able to pick it back up and regain initially for a couple laps there, it looks like, while Gallimore has now ran away with fourth spot here. Don't forget, as Matt Mackin just left the session, he was not in the race tonight. He was on the spotter stand. I was about to say, we haven't really talked about Fetterplace in the conversation point because he was one of the drivers involved too in that situation we talked about with Indianapolis with Bowie. He stayed with Arrow, and keep in mind, that led to a whole briefing in the news bulletins for the series where drivers were told they were reviewing all those types of details and made sure it was emphasized. Gallimore is sent, or rather, I should say, Fetterplace didn't get a disqualification for his mark or anything along those lines, but has been quiet tonight as you see the battle. He's now in.
Yeah, quiet, I think, is the right word for it. He's one of the guys that talked about at the Open as a guy with a point to prove tonight after that situation a couple of weeks ago. And I think you've seen similar to what we've seen from him all year. Just rock solid, running inside the top 10. The car is good, but now losing some spots here later in the run. He'll try to cross over Alex Murray here at the line as we're just past lap 100. So he continues to be just solid inside the top 10, running good lap times, maintaining at least contact with the leaders so that later in the race you may hear him in the conversation for a top 5. But certainly, again, quieter than he's been since that win in Charlotte back in the month of May. Speaking of guys who were quiet for the early run, we talked about Coffey and Murray. Another one, Matt Cox. He just bypassed Kyle Holden. That was for second. As now Matt Cox and Sean Rogers go 1-2 for BMP, and Gallimore got by more. That was for fourth. 1-2-4 for the Beast Mode cars. Really good work in the long run here. Here's the pass by Cox on Holden.
Yeah, I used that outside. We talked about if you do it right, you can do exactly this. Set yourself up by 1 or 3. Make the pass. Gallimore had already ran away by his measure. You see what they're topping off Hot Sauce Company replay. Coming up to 15 to go on the stage here already. And it becomes the question, which of the BMP machines take a green-white checker flag in stage 2? Stage 2 in this series, remember, brought to you by RS Button Boxes. Take a look at some of those down the order. Catalano is trying to find a way to pass by Bowie for the last point of the stage marks.
You got to talk about little victories. An up and down season for Catalano, to say the least, this year. But again, to get a stage point, to show some speed at the end of stage 2 and put yourself in a good spot for stage 3 would be a big deal for the Catalano machine if he can get up to that spot. Again, Medina runs right behind this battle as well, as he has crept into this conversation, and so has Chris Davis. We talked earlier with Zach about the Davis machine just kind of maintaining and seeing where the race went. Well, he's decided to pick it up here in stage 2, and it's been a story all year as the race goes on. Chris Davis picks up speed. He's done it again tonight, although a little bit slower because of the tire wear.
Just a touch bit, but it's not significant and to the point where it's a huge plummet right now. Mind you, Catalano's up 8, Davis up 9, Ashwinoff up 9 amongst some of those on the shuffle in this group. Jose Medina's also been running well and nearly sent into the quarter panel, trying to dig his way up to the 11th position. This allowing Bowie to pull off and get some breathing room. We're already 56 laps or so into the run with the way things have looked tonight.
We have only about 12 laps away from the end of the stage as well. And, again, waiting to see on this longer run what our tire numbers are at once we get to the end of stage 2 and get to pit road. Man, Rogers, big slide off turn 4 a moment ago as he tried to negotiate the lap car of Nigel Christensen. And similar to stage 1 a few moments ago, a battle starting to brew for the stage win here in stage 2 as this bit of trouble to get by Christensen's machine to put him a lap down has brought Matt Cox right almost to the bumper of his teammate.
I thought there was going to be contact there by the time they got to the back straightaway with how close that got to a wreck. Christensen fighting hard to stay on the lead lap, very hard in fact. That did not work out at all as Cox now has to deal with the same thing. Christensen up in the wall, and Cox looking to get the pass done. Not as hard of a fight compared to the race leader. By the way, we talked about Fetterplace and obviously his situation. Zach, on him.
Yeah, just talking over at the Aero Camp with Brandon Fetterplace, saying right now he's just searching for grip, trying to find a different line, and he's not really worried about the car. It's more or less the track temp that's causing the problem, so he's not really used to that. He's trying a little bit of newer stuff here tonight here at Iowa, but he's searching for grip right now, running P9.
Thank you for the quick check-in on that one. As Christensen's turned a hard left in the grass. The 20 has gone into the grass, now cuts onto the apron, and Christensen is all over the track. Holds on to it at the bottom. That was a flurry of trouble after Christensen went into the grass, and he's now slow on the surface.
That's because he just half spun over there in turn 2, getting off the apron. JP continues to labor around the racetrack. He had just gone one lap down, slides off turn 4, and then will slide again over in turn 2. And a bad night continues to go worse for Christensen. So, okay, potentially hearing a technical issue for Nigel Christensen caused the issue, but then it just snowballed in turns 1 and 2 for the 20 as he has lost a lap and now has lost a ton of position on the track as well.
Hearing it was a sim freeze, and obviously when your sim freezes in the middle of a corner, 99% of the time you're going to keep turning, and guess what? He, I guess, didn't know he was still in the corner. It's happened to us all, has it not?
Absolutely has. Again, a sensitive platform is iRacing, if you will, with technical and connection issues becoming prevalent. It's always been a prevalent thing, but again, as the cars continue to get updated, the tracks continue to get updated, those issues continue to rear their ugly heads. And that's actually been one that I've noticed over the last few weeks that a lot of drivers have had across different promotions, across different leagues. That's kind of been an issue, especially in this race car where it's a screen freeze. You can still feel the feedback in the wheel, but you just can't see where you're going. It freezes for a few seconds, and it is a scary sight, to say the absolute least.
Yeah, I mean, my most infamous moment probably is from screen freezes with a VR headset. Daytona used to have an issue at exactly 7:36 p.m. with sunset where it frees your sim for 3 seconds. Guess who caused a 30-car big one on the front straightaway? Obviously not going to happen tonight. That being said, as we continue on to the final few laps here, we continue on with this order as Christensen tries to stabilize things. As you can see, Coffee, he's pushing now for fourth with a couple laps to go on the stage.
This is what I talked about earlier with Alex Coffey, the hyper save strategy we have seen so many times from this Dig eSports entry. He continues to just save the first 40 or so laps of a run and really back down the pace, and it benefits him at the end when he can go and do whatever he wants to. Actually, another pass right behind him. Timothy Harper is going to follow through to the fifth spot around the Holden machine, so make it 2 for 1 for those Dig Camrys. But for Coffey, time and time again, we have seen this time and time again. It works, man. It almost doesn't right there. A slide off turn 2. He nearly got the outside wall. Shades of Cornet earlier.
Oh, trouble. William Owens is around on the final lap of the stage coming up. Nearly spun it. Keeps it straight, no caution, but here's the leader. Sean Rogers, your stage leader, coming up to the green-white checker flag, will pass by the 30, and that costs Owens a lap. He'll try to hold on and baby the tires after the slide with Kyle Holden blowing a tire. Green-white checker, Sean Rogers took it, and the 97 is spinning with a flat tire.
Oh, man, he tried to labor it all the way to the line, just tried to get to the stage caution and couldn't, and this is going to cost him 7, 8, 9, 10 positions. It goes from a guaranteed 5, 6 stage points for Holden to nothing to show and all of his track position gone.
Take a look at a couple top out of Hot Sauce Company replays here as first things first, this happened and rejoined near the leader, just too deep. This was the big part. Almost thought the blown tire would have been him. It wasn't. He blew it under pace laps just now, though.
And then for Holden, as Holden came off turn 4 again, and I talked about this a second ago, just trying to labor it around. He's going to blow the tire over here in 3 and 4 and just tries to labor it to the line. You're going to see it go right in the center of the corner, and that car goes straight around on him here. He tries to come to pit road. Actually, yeah, I thought he was trying to labor it to the line. I think he was coming to pit road here and got down on the apron and lost the race car.
Yeah, just fought with it as it snapped around because, of course, in reality, his rubber would have destroyed the fender. But everyone's come down pit road for service. So that's the end of the stage. Sean Rogers, first 2 stages. Holden missed entry again with the blown tire.
And it snowballs here for Kyle Holden at the end of stage 2. And again, what was a great night has suddenly gone bad. But, man, he missed it a second time under this caution and got the barrels. Man, the first casualty to the barrels of the 2026 season that I can recall.
Well, how about that? The 97 just made a pit road, and all of this as well as Blaine Wilson comes down this time. 44 Rogers. It's the one in command. Let's see if we can take him onto the radio here. John Rogers up at the front of the field. We haven't chatted with any drivers yet over the radio, but it's a good point to do it here. Sean, you've had an air rocket ship at a short track. How are you feeling about the tires right now?
It's definitely a concern for the whole field. It's just something you got to manage right from the beginning of a run. It's not something where you can kind of start off ripping and think that you can back it down and you're going to be good. So I'm just trying to run my pace, and it keeps getting me out front after guys kind of burn their stuff up a little bit.
So obviously we've seen all your team members seem to pick it up after lap 30. Is that by car setup or is that by design?
It's just this is our second league race that we run in, so we kind of know how these have been going. We know to really care for them for that first 30 and just keep running your pace. And eventually that, we're going to level off at a faster time than some of these guys who are ripping it up early.
That being said, what's the game plan for stage 3?
More of the same. We're really racing the track and racing that right rear tire. So I'm just going to kind of run my pace, and hopefully I can continue to hold off the field.
Good luck here, Sean.
Thanks.
John Rogers, the BMP Cam, taking the time to speak with us there. And Dawson, if I heard that correctly, he said he's pumping up the right rear. Did he not say that?
I believe it. I believe you did hear it correctly, and I think interesting too that all 4 of those cars have notes already coming into tonight. That explains a lot about the design strategy we've seen to go after about 30 laps. seems to be that the experience helped them out, and they've got the upper hand here with just about half the race to go.
And obviously, well, how would that impact the car? That's a big thing because that's going to impact your balance in particular. That's where you have to look at that setup sheet, isn't it, here, as we'll talk about that more in a moment. Van Louis Stickers restart zone. Green, green, green. Stage 3 underway. Rogers had Gallimore with a good jump.
Well, you want to talk about not a good jump. Alex Coffey on the inside, car 54, loses 4 spots going to turn 1 and held up the entire inside lane behind him. He does get going here off turn 2, but a uncharacteristically slow start for the 54. Back to turn 3, and here comes the pole sitter. First time we've really seen Alex Murray up around the lead conversation in a little bit. He's going to put some pressure on Rogers here back to the line.
Oh, but he gave him a shot, actually, on the entry. Don't know if that's intentional or not, but the 22 definitely had the run. Now trying to reset. Murray looking to build up an air run, this time to the outside. Remember the slow roll from the notes just mentioned by Rogers? That lets Murray go. Some of the other teammates from Dig making error passes. Murray's to the front.
First time Alex Murray has led since leading the opening laps of this race before Corey Moore drove all the way to the lead. Murray started on pole. He's back to where he started, P1 with 123 to go. And further back, Alex Coffey is in a hornet's nest. He runs 9th right now, but he's got drivers chomping at the bit, trying to get around him. How about Trevor Osbernoth on the outside? First time we've said that red line car's name all night. He goes all the way to 9th. He wants 8th from Corey Morris. He hits the go button here early in stage 3.
The red line machines seem to on short run have pretty solid speed right now. To be able to pass by Bowie says a lot here. Up front, Rogers swapping back. Is he picking up the pace, or is Murray trying to back off his pace? Back and forth they go off the exit.
Could be a little bit of both. Again, we saw both over the first 2 stages of this race. We saw Murray go backwards. We saw Rogers pick it up. You wonder if it's more of Murray managing his pace, trying to keep Rogers close. Don't give up the lead, but at least keep him within arm's length to maintain the lead, but still, again, keep from going too far backwards here. For Murray, out back of them. Here's Cox to the outside of Gallimore. That is for 3rd. Move back, Cox back to 3rd. Still 2, 3, 4 for the BMP cars. As those 3 all chase. Alex Murray, Fetter place behind them. Harper has settled into 6th. And then Chris Davis, P7. Ran P21 all of stage 1. He's inside the top 10 up to 7th for that Aero driver in the 87.
Second biggest mover. Hold on a second. Cox floored it on the outside and is looking to pass them all. Where did that boost come from? Was all the way to the back and 3rd, and one corner gets to the lead by the next set.
Man, it looks like Dom Toretto and Fast and Furious hitting the NOS button inside the cockpit of that race car as he jumped around both of them. In fact, it caught me so off guard I was still midpoint when talking about that. Rogers is going to follow. This stage, notably, and you heard Rogers say something about changing the right rear a moment ago, this stage, the base mode performance cars have gone from the jump. Those 3 cars are all on their horse very early in this stage, a complete 180 of their tire strategy from earlier.
Might be coming up to the right rear, maybe. Cody, you've had some information on tires.
Yeah, just going over that 70-lap run, it looks like some of the teams were reporting about single digits to low 10s on tires for the rights.
In our words, you're going to be very much on the struggle bus, Dawson, on that note, to say the least. I think that's going to obviously factor in where we have a 130-lap run at minimum. You have to go about 65 laps to split it up the middle. I think everyone splits it up the middle today.
Yeah, I feel like that would be the way that you would go. The only way I would see a group going longer is, by the way, Sean Rogers has run down Matt Cox once again trying for the race lead, and as he does, the only way I could see a car going longer would be a car like Alex Coffey. He's dropped all the way to 13th position, by the way, early in this run, and that would be a driver I would kind of pinpoint as a guy that would go a little bit longer on this set of tires because of how much he is choosing to save early in this run, that maybe he tries to stretch 5-10 extra laps and have that tire advantage when he comes off of pit road. Everyone else, especially the guys here at the front, I would cut it as close to halfway as possible. I wouldn't be surprised if a few guys come a few laps even before halfway in the stage because those tires, again, we saw it a moment ago with Holden and Owens, the tires will be screaming when we get to that 60, 65, 70 lap number.
And that's the thing. you have to keep in mind with the points conversation as you look at some of the other battles here. Bowie, Coffey, Fetter Place, and Murray came in all as basically locks to make the chase from here on out. They can do whatever they want to do to experiment, to try different things, to test things out for when we get to the chase. They are in a big situation where they can do a lot of different things that the others don't have the flexibility to do.
Well, absolutely, and I think as you look at the schedule, knowing that we have some tire-eating racetracks coming up, I mean, Richmond's similar to Iowa coming up next week, New Hampshire still to come, Darlington, Gateway, Bristol, all still on the horizon, Phoenix as well, some tracks that are really hard on the Goodyear Eagles. I think to go and get some notes tonight on how the tire wear exactly is going to treat the race car later, even though it may not be to this extent when we get to those racetracks. To do those, that work now is going to pay some serious dividends, especially that Darlington, Gateway, Bristol are the first 3 races in the chase. It's a huge deal to get a good set of notes and get off to a good start in that chase. Back to the Hornets' nest. Some drivers on the move here. Kyle Holden is the main one, up to 12th after the incidents a moment ago. The recovery drive is on for that 97 as he's picked up about 5-6 spots here since the restart.
If you see just again, the swarm continues around Coffey. Cornette, he's at least not been able to fix the damage. I was going to say fixed it, he did not. Here's the race leaders difference. Right now, they pulled away by a second and a half. On board, this is Rogers. Right now, these two a tenth quicker than everybody on the racetrack.
And again, they know something that everybody else doesn't, including one of their team cars. And Paul Gallimore continues to run a tenth slower than those two cars do. That time, again, a tenth and a half difference. The only car even is Corey Moore in the 5th spot right now, who ran a 24-22 this last time by. And then you got to go all the way back to Bowie with a 24-25. Everybody else ran 2, 3, 4 tenths slower than the 2 race leaders right now. They are notably faster than the last run about this time into the run. So they have picked up the pace a little bit. Again, we talked about the adjustments that maybe they have made after the stage. It is paying off right now for those cars. They continue to run 1, 2, and 3. Speaking of Corey Moore, battle for 4th. He's gotten by Alex Murray. An impressive night for the 19. Came in at a 8th in points. An impressive run so far in Iowa for him as he drives away from Murray. Now it's Fetter Place's turn to attack the 22.
Fetter Place looking to set up as he scraped the bottom of the racetrack. We'll say with Corey Moore, he's seen in the mix having a good day. Harper giving that Tilley's machine a good ride as well, but Bowie is starting to make slow progress here. After running maybe 10th much of the day, he's picking up the spots one by one. You mentioned his pace before. Is this the time he now says, okay, it's time to set something up here?
Well, we've seen this from Brandon Bowie, the points leader, earlier in the season as well, where it may take a little bit to get to the front, but eventually he will be there at some point. And now it seems that he is starting to pick up that pace. He's starting to work into the battle for 5th. Right here in front of him is Murray and Fetter Place as they continue to work on one another. But Bowie is slowly working into this battle as well. He just got around Harper a second ago. And looking back at Alex Coffey, he is 15th on the speedway right now in the 54. He's dropped all the way from the inside of row 2 to 15th, or mid stages of this run. And he again is on that ultra tire save strategy that we've seen so many times. My question is, as he loses more and more time to the leaders, will it pay off if he's 6, 7, 8 seconds behind the race leader by the time we get to a potential green flag pit stop?
That's the huge thing. And right now, as they're already 25 laps or so in, we're on track for what would be the quickest race potentially of the season outside of maybe a road course or two. It's been that swift of a day here for Moonshiners Racing League for the GMD Janitorial Cup Series. As right now, everybody's kind of just continuing to play their own patience game. Astronaut is still inside the top 10 of note on some of the drivers. But the race lead is on because Rogers just set himself up a move to the inside. Cox letting him have it. At least a poke at minimum. But that finish line graphics machine able to hold on for now. The reset for the Icon Apparel Co. machine right behind.
Reset and try it again, but we saw over the last couple of runs as well, and when he's run down Corey Moore a couple of times, amongst others, that he has run down for the race lead. He tends to take a few laps. He'll dive to the bottom once, dive to the bottom twice. Eventually, it will be inevitable that he'll make this pass. Again, that car appears to be dialed in. The adjustments are right on par with what he did in North Wilkesboro a few weeks back. That race, we saw him drive away from the field, trying to knock on the door of his teammate Matt Cox and put that back in to play once again. Paul Gallimore started to even up the lap times. Well, not last time around, now 2/10 slower than our race leader. We'll see what he does this time around, back to about a 10th and a half. For a while there, he was evening up the lap times. Now things have come back to earth just a little bit. Corey Moore continues to run on par. So does Brandon Fetterplace now. The 34 are starting to even up the times with our race leaders as well as we get to the middle portions of this run.
Under 100 laps to go, this time by 99 specifically, up on the board. As this all ticks away time-wise and race-wise. Again, some of the other various things to note here in the order as times have reached near second and a half of fall off for some of the field competitors here. There is still, as the leaders are separated, some of the trains like here building up. Here's Medina trying to get himself a top 10, only 2 top 10s on the entire season for the 24 machine. And now looking to find that VMC machine another spot. He's been in the hunt for this position all day. Up the road, you also have Harper holding back Davis.
Davis starting to backslide just a tad in the 87. He's dropped a couple spots over the course of this run, but still maintaining a spot in the top 10. You mentioned the red line cars having short run speed. It's starting to fade just a little bit for Trevor Osbornoff as well. He is the lead of that train from 10th on back with Medina and company. So for Osbornoff and Kenny Reel, they both started to go backwards as well. In fact, Medina will capture that spot as Osbornoff has a moment over in turn 1. May have gotten a little bit loose there for the 89. Next on tap for Osbornoff is Cornett. Chris Cornett. It's been slow. It's taken a while inside of 100 to go. But remember, he started inside the top 5, hit the wall early, and is right back knocking on the door of the 11th spot, trying to drive back into the top 10.
And that's still with damage to the car. He hasn't had enough time to actually fix it because we've only had the cautions at the very end of each of the stages here for incident. Every other point of this run has gone green today. But that's kind of the normalcy when it comes to Iowa, isn't it? You normally don't see too many cautions as Murray goes on better place here.
Figured with some of the tire wear, the attrition, the chaos level would go up a little bit more from what we're used to at Iowa and be a shades of those early 2010s, the time nationwide series races that we saw at this place that were so wild, especially at the finish. Murray goes on by for 5th. You know, Fetterplace will cross over here and try back to the inside, and he'll give it up here into turn 1. But for Alex Murray, I talked about earlier, so much momentum, so much speed, and could really complete races early in the season. And the bad luck has kind of taken hold in the middle stages between, again, circumstance not allowing him to be on the racetrack, or when he is on the racetrack, just some bad luck, being in the wrong spot at the wrong time, per se. For Murray tonight, this is kind of what he needed. I know you always want to win, as we look back again at Cornett has gotten around Osbornoff now, but for Alex Murray, this is kind of what the doctor ordered. Just clean, calm, collected type race. It's what we saw earlier in the season. Top 5 speed for Murray, again, is exactly what he wants. This man, Kyle Holden, again, continues to stick around right here outside the top 10.
The thing is, Holden's doing this with damage. He hasn't fixed that front end either. That 13th place, I see him just fighting around 12th, should say right now. It's obviously not optimal, but at the very least, we've seen this with Cornett, we've seen this with a couple others. If you have a solid setup, you can drive around it a bit. Here we go, Murray now attacking Moore. Meanwhile, this is a change for the 4th spot. Moore a bit slower down the line.
Corey Moore backsliding just a little bit as this run goes on. Murray is starting to, again, do something similar to what we saw in the couple of earlier stages, really pick things up as we get later into a run. And he'll move to 4th now, set his sights on Gallimore, try to break up this BMP 1-2-3 here at the front of the field as Murray now carries the banner for Dig Esports in this race. Again, exactly what the doctor ordered, I think, for Alex Murray tonight in car 22. Matt Cox continuing to lead, and things have now singled out. We're hearing potentially 180, 185, 190 as the pit lap to watch. It's about 20 or 25 laps from right now is when we may anticipate drivers starting to come down and say, this is too much on my tires. I need to come get a new set of Goodyears.
And even a 5-lap difference on the undercut and overcut is going to be pretty significant, because with it being about 1.3, 1.5, let's do the math. You do a 5-lap undercut on somebody. Your difference on the racetrack, we're talking your 5, not fully 5. You're talking more so 7 to 8 seconds maybe you pick up. But you also have the potential to fall back that same amount of distance gradually over the course of the run compared to the fresher tires here. It really is all going to depend on how close you are to some of the competitors to your equalization point, to how higher up you're going to be in this order today. And oh, by the way, 10-second pit stops is an error factor we haven't touched upon with Iowa, because in the 14-second pit stop era, you'd see a lot more 2-lap down drivers. We might see not as many people lose that additional lap now with an extra 4 seconds in the bank.
Yeah, obviously with the pit stop changes, that's going to come into play. I think the other sensitive thing is going to be how hard you drive 3, 4, 5 laps into a run.
Oh.
And here we go. We're going to start it awfully early. Corey Morris coming to pit road on lap 165 with 86 to go in the race. This is a little bit earlier than splitting it halfway. Corey Morris said, my lap times are not good enough. I have to come get new tires.
Zach?
Yeah, we were just tuning into the Dig 1 camp, I would say, and Corey Moore down on pit road, 4 tires and fuel, his strategy call right now. And you guys are right, it is earlier, but we'll see if anyone else comes with him.
Yeah, this is an interesting decision. Is there a potential of a 2-stop maybe? Or better yet, is he going to try and baby the tires for 85, 86 laps?
Well, it was just what I was going to get into before he came to pit road. The sensitive part of this pit stop is you want to make good on the undercut. You want to make up pace. If you're going to come to pit road early while everyone else is out on old tires, just leaving their car around the racetrack trying to make the end of their run or the target lap that they have in mind, you know, for Corey Moore, you want to go for at least a moment and try to make up some time that you had lost to the leaders right there. But at the same time, you don't want to work too hard on the right rear and have a similar situation to Kyle Holden earlier and be in a bad spot later in the run. So it's awfully early. I figured maybe a few laps early, 20 laps, a big ask for more, unless he is going to 2-stop. The thing about that is you had an extra 10 seconds on pit road potentially. I don't know if that would work out if some guys are only coming to pit road once. Just not sure how well it would work out. By the way, man on the move, Alex Murray has gone from 4th to 2nd over the past 10 laps. The go button has been pressed for the red and white Dig eSports entry. He now chases only Matt Cox as all of a sudden he's up on his horse.
Yeah, he is on the move, picking up the tempo, a lap quicker than the race leader currently. And Cody, you've been trying to pick up on some of the different strategy relays. You've been doing some of the mathematics here. Obviously, the thought is if you take a 2-stop, you're losing so much time. That is a massive gamble if that is the play. But if you go with the undercut, there's got to be a huge gamble in theory, Cody, where you're probably hoping it stays green or you get a caution where you pin everybody a lap down when they pit.
Yeah, and just to mention with the number 19, it looks like it was a team decision. So just one of those drivers that were taking some of the risk for that Dig Motorsports. And it looks like we may see these drivers start to go as far as like 5 to 10 laps from now. So that gamble might be worth it, JP.
And obviously, that's going to be the huge play is Moore needs this to stay green. First of all, he lost 1 lap compared to the rest of the leaders. Right now, he is still at least a lap and a half back of the race leader. Some of the others like Johnny Shade, you're taking a look at him. Right now, 14th, right near about the middle of the field, right ahead of Jim Treat, who, remember, fell a lap down at one point, was one of those with a lot of tire wear burn. Treat's improving here. Murray's in.
So it is going to be a Dig eSports team decision to come early, and that explains a lot about why Alex Murray decided to go as early as he did right there on that run and make up track position now, because he's going to have an even better potential undercut on the beast mode car, still leading the race And now the question becomes, as Corey Moore, by the way, is running 23.6s, so no saving the tires, at least so far. The question becomes, when do the leaders respond to this? The undercut appears to be working in terms of lap time so far. When does everyone else make their way to pit road? Look at the difference of Corey Moore as he just flew past Brandon Fetterplace, trying to get his lap back the hard way.
Murray took 4 tires and fuel, by the way, right on 50 laps is the mark, by the way, as you see Ashwinoff trying to hold back Treat. And here's the huge thing about part of this, too, is technically speaking, you have Dig 1 and Dig 2, remember. Murray's with Dig 2, Moore's with Dig 1. So unless you set up the in-sim radio channels to communicate to the other drivers openly, it's not as easy of a say as, okay, remember what we talked about, let's do this. That's something you have to potentially coordinate if you're in the Dig camp beforehand. The same can be said for the Aero machines and a couple of the others in terms of what their game plans might be in the team meeting.
I was going to say, or was it something earlier in the week through practice, through official racing, through potential other league racing? We heard Sean Rogers say that those guys had a race under their belts already. Was that something that those Dig cars all got together and talked about before we took the green flag? That if this thing got into a green flag run, here's the target number, here's when we're going to come to pit road, or at least a ballpark. We're going to try to go early. That's the strategy. Let's stick to it. I almost wonder if that was something they talked about all week leading into this race, as now it's a split team decision, not just one of the two groups. Now cars from both have come to pit road in the late stages of this one.
Exactly, and right now, as we continue to keep an eye on this, Moore's almost unlapped himself for reference. Timothy Harper building a buffer in 4th. Bowie is up in the top 5 right now and just got passed by Murray as well. As you take a look at some of the teammates race each other. These are the 0x sim racing cars together.
It was a good start for Hochschild earlier in the race. He's not been able to get back inside the top 10 since then. And as Jim Treat and Hochschild both tried to get around Trevor Osmanoff a moment ago. He continues to backslide in car 89, but not been able to make it past him just yet. William Owens again after the slide through the grass. We've not seen much out of him since then. For Bowie, up to 5th, in front of Fetterplace now. So again, you talked about earlier, the slow creep into the conversation for the win. It continues on. He's just chipping away a little bit at a time, and now he's starting to go to work on Timothy Harper here in just a few laps.
So as we come inside 70 laps to go coming up, we're just about in that range where a lot of people want to be on tires. Here's a look at the different stint lengths. See a little bit of the difference between Moore and Murray. Matt Cox, obviously still on the racetrack. That being said, with the 24.6s, it's stabilized to that effort, and time-wise, for now, those two that you just seen are in the range where they're about to, if not already, unlap themselves. Murray's about to, Moore has already done so. As they all find a way to get things sorted, the big thing is, amongst that stint, Murray on his lap difference on stints, already running as quick as 4/10 faster than the Dig 1 driver on the order. Let's take a look at some of the errors grouped together here. As you see that gaggle stay together.
Yeah, and talking about Murray, as we look back at this gaggle, back-to-back 23:31s for Alex Murray. Some of the fastest laps he's run all night long on his last 2 laps on the racetrack. He is blazing fast early in this tire run for him. Now, he is shredding those Goodyears. As we look back at these cars, as again, Osman's gotten passed by Treat. Hochschild's next up, then Owens, and then Carr, then Sanchez. All cars that have had some form of trouble at some point in this race. Talking about Murray, though, now you understand the strategy for those 2 cars that have short-pitted this run is to get as far away from the Beast Mode Performance cars as possible, to get as far up the road as possible, to make them come off pit road and do the exact same thing, to push the pace, to push the tires, to force them into a situation where they have to go, where they're uncomfortable, and to make them have to come from behind. A smart call, but again, will you have enough tire if you're one of those 2 Dig Toyotas to make the end of the race?
Compared to that, some of the other teams here, the Aero camp, Zach.
Yeah, just going through right now, through the Aero Camp, you talked about Chris Davis, we talked about Kyle Holden, two drivers that have run solid laps so far, almost all inside the top 10 right now. But for Chris Davis, his strategy might be to stay long here, right, and wait out the caution, especially with all these different tire models that are going to come out and all the different tire strategies, right? What is going to be the play there? I think Aero might run a little longer to try to wait out the caution.
That's the key thing. Will you get a caution? Is the huge thing. We've only had one person out of the race. We'll have a couple lap down here tonight. Still see the stints now already up to 64. We're about midway to the run this time through. Nobody came in directly at the midway point of the stint. So we're coming up now to the final stretch of this race. Money stops coming up here on Precision Entertainment for those just tuning in. The Corridor Automotive 250 has been breezing on by tonight. So far, so good when it comes to these competitors. But right now, the huge part, who comes in next, is everyone's question. And right now, nobody is taking that opportunity to blink and peel down pit road. No major callouts yet, as the leaders still make their way around the track. Rogers is in. The 44 is in.
Yep, here's the pit stop, at least for one of the Beast Mode Performance cars, and has dominated the middle to late stages of this race. You wonder if he was watching where the Murray and Moore cars were. Alex Murray had picked up 4 seconds of delta on this run on those new tires after the undercut, and Rogers said enough is enough. I'm coming to pit road to make my pit stop with 62 laps to go. He'll come to his box and take what we expect to be at least 2. I would anticipate 4, considering the wear tonight. That's another question you have to ask. I wonder what the wear on the left side tires has been. We've heard a lot about the right rear. What about the left sides? And is there anyone brave enough to throw it on the edge to try to get out front and potentially only take 2 here?
Yeah, that's the huge question as they go. And right now, you have to keep in mind what the thing is. If you take 2 tires, that's a balance thing, but also a time thing, right? Because the fuel in what's required to fill the car up versus how long it takes the tires. As well, if it's only right side tires, that becomes a huge chewing away point. You can kind of get away with it. And that used to be the meta for so long, was just take the left sides. What do you say about that here, Zach? Because that is something you've kept an eye on here for some of the drivers with Gallimore and Fetterplace in now.
Yeah, just talking about BMP, Sean Rogers, you saw him come down pit road, and the team's saying the tires on the left side, they're just there. They're just hanging out, not really chewing off, not really staying on. So that's the intel right now for BMP.
It's a good question, Mark, on how many drivers are willing to keep that balancing difference. Can't confirm that Rogers did put on 4. We have a blown tire. Nigel Christensen just blew it and missed the corner. He's missed the pit entry, in fact. And he stopped on entry as Mark Sanchez passes by. No caution. He's on the apron.
Oh, man, bad night gone worse for Christensen, who was in that single-digit points battle. And you almost wonder if the Kyle Holden incident kind of comes into play. We saw Holden try to get that car down to speed for pit road and spin it. Christensen didn't get it down to speed quite enough and missed pit entry and had to come back in. And again, a bad night continues to get worse for the Nigel Christensen machine. We look back at Corey Moore. He and Alex Murray have continued this undercut, although I will tell you, Murray continues to run about 4/10 better than even the 19. Alex Murray is blazing fast right now. He has made up between himself and the leader. As speaking of the leader, he's on pit road. Matt Cox is in this time with 56 to go. Murray had made up 6+ seconds of delta on the undercut there. Look at the difference in tires. Again, it reminisces back to that Bristol race 2 years ago. Drivers on old tires and drivers on new ones. The speed difference is stark.
You're in a blowout for Wilson. That's going to be a problem here for the 18. He needs to get down to the pit entry. Everybody's missed it with a blown tire. Johnny Shade's got a problem. He's become a roadblock. I think he got to the bottom. Wilson, we can tell you, did make it to pit road barely. So these two urgently getting to pit road with the 18 on blown tires here. Bowie and several of the others still going to keep it on the racetrack for now. But obviously, the longer we see the gambles out, the more drivers are going to meet both legs where they're going to have to pit.
More cars had made their pit stop a moment ago. Gallimore, Harper, Fetter Place, Greg Carr, Sanchez, Owens. Obviously, Shade Wilson, Holden's on pit road this time. Chris Davis, I think, is coming to pit road in the 87. I may have missed pit road, actually. The 87 of Chris Davis, he was awfully slow on the front stretch. He may have missed the pit lane entry. He is still very slow over in turn 2. I wonder if he's lost a tire
turn
potentially.
4, Medina spun. 24 spun around, no blown tire. Johnny Shade got a speeding exit. Matt Cox has technical issues. Everybody's having everything happen. We have an error who missed pit road. Jim Treat just did. Cox is now out of the race with technical issues. Where do we begin?
I don't even know where to start at this point. We see the spin for Medina. Again, this was right as I think Chris Davis blew a tire as well in the 87, as he was notably slow on this run. Medina spun it getting to pit road. Bowie is on pit road. Treat is on pit road. And then through all of that smoke, Alex Murray's driven away with the lead, and his lead over Coffey is 1.2. Over the other undercut car, Corey Moore, is 5.4 seconds on this run, first to fourth. Murray to Moore. But black flag, Shade and Chris Davis both received penalties. We heard about the one to Shade a moment ago. Chris Davis got one as well.
Both on exit too, Dawson, and that's interesting. Race-ending situation for their penalties. That takes them out of contention with a 40-second hold on a short track.
Oh, absolutely. Again, without a caution flag, which the rate we're going in this race, the tire blowouts, you wonder if that becomes a factor later on in the going, as this is the battle on the racetrack right now, as things have gotten all kinds of jumbled up. Sean Rogers comes off pit road to get back to Alex Murray and the race lead. He has to make up 14 seconds of delta in just 50 laps. Now, the tires will fall off for the dead cars that came early, but for Sean Rogers, he has to make up a Herculean over 13 seconds of delta in the next 50 laps.
Murray just pit again? Hold on 1 second. 22 is in. I am not sure the reason here. Alex Murray has come down from the lead after having a 14-second advantage to those who had previously led. What is going on? Cornette missed pit road last time. That's why he's on the apron this time. But everything is spiraling with Cornette with a blown tire.
I wonder, this could really be the only thing, and we may get a report from down on pit level here in just a second, but the only thing I can think for Alex Murray to pit a second time, he assumes Rogers, Gallimore, and Cox, well, Cox obviously on the technical issues, but for Rogers and Gallimore, they will run so hard trying to run down the guys that undercut, trying to make up the delta, that they will blow tires late in this race, and he will be able to drive back around them with just a few laps to go. That's the only thing I can think. But man, you had built up a 14-second lead to the next car that was in the top 5 when that pit cycle began, and you decide to come to pit road a second time. An interesting one, to say the least.
Cody, what happened?
So it looks like the plan was to do a 2-stop, just get some of these cars out on older tires. That's what the team over at the Dig VC was telling me, to have these drivers on different tires and just mix up the playing field. So it's an interesting call here, for Alex Murray in the 22 machine.
And Hochschild, you've seen the previous lap and missed pit road. That's why he came down here on this replay. He had, you see right here, you see all those marbles to the right? He nearly missed it again there, and it took him an extra 4 laps to get back to pit road for Blake.
Again, it harkens back to what we saw happen to Kyle Holden back in stage 1 when he spun not once but twice, trying to get to pit road with a blown tire, and then on the ensuing pit stop to come back down pit road to end the stage, we saw the same thing happen to him. So, obviously there was the bit of fear there for drivers getting onto the apron, knowing the marbles are down there, trying not to slide the tires too bad on entry, and drivers are getting too much out of their race cars on the pit entry. And now another Dig eSports car in. Here's more, and here's another in Cornette, but he slid past pit road and is going to miss it as well and take the access road.
Can confirm, it looks like Murray and Moore both electing to roll the dice on strategy. And obviously, there's the gambit. Murray's already made up a lot of time since his stop, I've noticed. He's already made upwards of at least 6 seconds since his stop. He's already turning laps 1.6 seconds quicker than Coffey. but also is running 1 second quicker than the leader. That might work.
It might, but it's going to be interesting. And again, I think it harkens back to he thinks that the Rogers and Gallimore cars, and this is exactly what's happening, that they're going to run so hard that they are going to put their tires in a compromised position late in this race where they cannot go as hard as they want to go when it comes down to business time. Those cars, as of now, are still running in the low 24s. Last time by, Rogers ran a 24.3, Gallimore ran a 24.10. So both of them are still running very competitive and fast pace. They're still going almost 100%, 24.22. Rogers got quicker that time in the 44. They're doing exactly what I think Alex Murray thinks that they were going to do. He's still got to make up a lot of ground. It is still 14 seconds between he and Sean Rogers. As this race gets later, though, and Rogers' tires start to go away, it could become a factor for Murray. This could work right into their hands.
Would you believe Alex Coffey's still the leader, by the way? He has not pit, by the way. So Coffey is not losing as much ground as you would think. He only in the past few laps started to go up more than a second a lap. But the 54 has just kept it on the racetrack and continues to log lead laps. He's only led 16 all from this strategy tonight.
His lap times have come way down. He's just ran a 25.19 last time by for the race leader. Moore will unlap himself and go on by Sanchez, Medina, and Carr. The next three cars that will go by him. And then it will be clean track between him and Sean Rogers. As of this time by, Rogers had cut it inside of 4 seconds. And he'll have to get there. You wonder, does Coffey have anything left to defend this? Will he try to defend this when Rogers gets there, knowing the difference between the two on Goodyear Eagles? But Rogers down to 3 seconds of a gap, but he's still got probably 2, 3, 4 laps before he even can get there. And he's put a hurting on his Goodyears, to say the absolute least, in the mid stages of this tire run.
And mind you, by the time you finish up the sequence, the average is 42nd lane. He's likely going to be at least a lap down here, obviously, if not possibly 2. Here's Moore, able to squeak on through. Corey Moore, he's now within 22 seconds of the leader. His downside compared to Murray, he's another 9 seconds back on his strategy, albeit he elected to go later than the 22 for his stop. Going to be one of those plugging his way to the field as Gallimore zips by. Coffey is in. The last of the drivers to need a pit to make it to the end on gas has come on down for scheduled service, going to full distance.
So that gives Rogers the race lead now with 36 to go, and the question becomes, how hard does he want to run? Alex Murray is still full bore. He's cut the delta down to 9.5 seconds. If the pace were to continue, it would be enough for Alex Murray to run down Sean Rogers under green. The question will be, will the delta continue? He's still about 6.5 tenths quicker than Sean Rogers as of last time by. That would put him within the delta to make it to the back bumper of the 44 by the time this race came to an end. So the curious part of that is going to be interesting to me. The other car in this race, all of a sudden, Rogers has a new trailer. It used to be Gallimore. It is now the points leader, Brandon Bowie, who trails Rogers with 35 to go. He's suddenly emerged in the victory conversation here.
He's obviously worked at the car, made the adjustments he's needed to be in here. Gallimore staying within touch of them, but Bowie is going after it. Seen a little bit of the edge of your screen there. He's using a half a lane higher, trying to differentiate to the 44 as Gallimore gets passed by traffic. Bowie's going for the lead. He's on the outside to pass by Rogers. Bowie with fresher tires is your leader.
Took him 218 laps to lead one tonight, but he goes right to the point here with 33 to go on a night where it felt like the beast mode cars were going to run away with it in the late stages. Bowie says not so fast and takes the race lead for now. At the line, 32 to go, and Alex Murray continues to close this delta just a little bit at a time. It's down to 7.5 seconds again, still within the threshold, about 4 tenths quicker, where he's got enough laps to get there. But at this point, he'll need to keep that delta for the next 15, 20 laps to even have a shot at it here as Rogers gets caught up with Catalano there in turn 4. Man, Gallimore in a mess behind him with a pair of red line entries.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers here that pit on different strategies coming through. Ashwornoff, who went a full distance on the tank. Kenny Reel, he's now zipping through. You have others like Chris Davis jumping in. You're going to have to look at that virtual mirror and keep an eye on everything. Federer Place getting passed by Murray, by the way. That is already for the top 5. Murray's already within 7 seconds of your leaders, as his pace is still 7/10 quicker than the 35 who is in traffic.
And in traffic is...
I think we both had the same thought. This is going to be very nerve-wracking if you're the race leader. You cannot afford a deep lunge for some of these drivers.
Well, it's nerve-wracking for 2 reasons. Number 1 reason is Rogers is right back in the conversation. I think that's what we were both going to say right there, is this has brought Rogers right back in, as Coffey's going to unlap himself as well. In fact, look around the rim 3 wide, right around the battle for the lead there goes Coffey. Not only has this brought Rogers in, this is going to only help Alex Murray, who's on clean racetrack right now. The delta's down to 6 seconds. This is very much doable for Alex Murray if he continues on a pace even similar to the one he's on right now. So not only in the short term, if you will, with Rogers and Bowie, but for Murray in these two, it obviously comes into play as well as drivers continue to kind of muck things up, if you will, here at the front of the field.
Yes, indeed. All you can say is for Rogers, he's doing a phenomenal job with the older tires here. Gallimore, a little bit fresher, has started to fade back though. Don't look now if anything happens here. Harper's 3 seconds back. We talked about Murray's charge. He's starting to equalize out though, is my concern. And that's the one thing, remember, I thought with only a 10, 20 lap difference, Dawson, short run, you're going to be Superman. Mid-run, you're going to be, what's the counterpoint to just a normal person? You know, a normal person. Murray's kind of equalized out to the same pace as a 35, 6 seconds back.
In comparison to Superman, I think you're looking for average Joe there, JP, in terms of comparison to Superman. But for Murray, yeah, it's fallen off a cliff quickly, by the way. All of a sudden, it goes from 4.5 tenths difference. The Bowie's going to bypass the line here. You're in a 24.44. I'm curious to see what Murray runs when he gets by the line here in just a second. Well, now he's picked it back up. Now it's back up to about 2.5 tenths difference for Alex Murray. So potentially he's picking it back up just a little again, but for a second there, it really evened out between those two cars.
Yep, you see that time difference. I don't know how far Coffey's going to get. I don't know if this is a race-winning move. Obviously not with this many laps to go, but again, we talked about you can try different things. I'm guessing Coffey was expecting somebody to wreck and have a fresh tire set in the field. That had to have been the gambit here, and it just didn't work out.
No, it hasn't worked out for him. He could get as high as about, I would say, the 8th position from what I'm seeing, at least realistically on the racetrack right now. But it would be a stretch to go any further than that. And for him right now, it continues to be about a 2-tenth difference, Murray to Bowie, but now he's running out of laps. Now, 2 tenths with only 23 to go is not going to be enough to quite get him the back bumper of the race leader. So he needs some more traffic to help them out, and they got to wait a little bit for some of that to get to the race leaders at this point. Between Murray and Bowie, although he has, again, picked it up since about the last 5 laps, but he's going to need a few more laps to continue it on. Again, about a 2-tenth difference there as well.
Let's send it down to Zach. Zach?
Yeah, Dawson just mentioned it. It was the 2-tenth difference last time by in terms of Brandon Bowie, your race leader, and Alex Murray working his way through the top 5 right now. And the biggest question that everyone is wondering, how does lap traffic get involved in this one? They have some quicker tire sets. They're working around the leaders. Does anyone get hung up behind a lap car? Does a lap car get some contact? That's the biggest question here under 25 laps to go.
Thank you very much, Zach. And as we're coming up to 20 to go in the race, obviously, overall we've seen a fair bit of covers and goers here. It felt like it was going to be Rogers at night. Then Matt Cox led 62 laps. The funny thing is, I wonder if it wasn't for the double zeros technical issue, we'd be talking about Matt Cox being up in the lead still, not Brandon Bowie, because he'd obviously be in that conversation. He was on a stint that was comparable, if not a little bit different, than this 44 with fresher tires too.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be a what could have been moment for him, and obviously you can't control a technical issue, but still, nonetheless, you wonder what could have happened if Matt Cox had been able to stay on the racetrack and that pit cycle would have played out. Would it have played out a little bit differently here for him. For Cox, obviously a tough break. A couple questions I have. The Kenny Reel and Catalano machines that were just blazed by the leaders a few moments ago has started to come back to earth, and they are now kind of ranging back in to the leaders here, where the leaders are going to have to try to pass them. So the other way around of what we talked about earlier with leaders being passed by lap cars, they might have to negotiate lap cars here late in this run, and again, that would only help the Murray machine, although he has stalled out big time in the 5th position. The lap time's now even, and it may become a 2-horse race. And a 2-horse race it is, JP, because here comes Sean Rogers. He started to launch a bit of a late charge here with 17 to go.
He's trying to get a diamond line going to build up a run. Bowie sliding up, and remember, this is about the time, if not a little deeper, where BMP was better. Even with the older tires, looking to go for the run on Bowie. Bowie using the outside to defend for the time being.
Yeah, but how much of that outside can you get? We're getting to that point in the stint when those tires start to wear just a little bit on the right side. And Rogers has been able to turn the corner so well mid-stage. Almost contact off turn 4. Big slide for Rogers halfway down the front stretch. And with 16 to go, he drops 5, 6, 7 car lengths to the race leader.
And that is going to absolutely be decimating. Top it off, Hanzo's coming to replay. Let's take a look at this. That wiggle may have just cost Rogers a chance for the win.
It's off turn 4. Again, something we've seen quite a bit tonight. You chatter the rear tires. You get a little bit too much into them. They spin off turn 4, and you slide the car out of line. And for Rogers right there, that is a tough one for Bowie. A sigh of relief for car 35 as he continues to work towards yet another win. And what has been a stellar campaign, looking to get back to victory lane tonight in the cornfields of Iowa.
Yes, indeed. And right now it was the question of which driver would come out of the cornfields and be able to play ball in the right way here today and put on a strong show. Well, we've seen it tonight from a few of the drivers. We're into the final stretch. Coming around 13 or so to go with Bowie trying to hold on. For reference, Murray, he's within 4 seconds up to Harper, you see. Obviously, these drivers all have sets in the pits. That's not the concern here, I think, right now, Dawson. The concern to me is there going to be a chance for some of the drivers? Not going to wish upon a caution, but we've seen drivers have issues at this part of the run. Some of the drivers are reaching to end this race tonight.
That would take a tire blowout at this point. We had a couple on the last run. This run going to be a little bit shorter for some of those drivers, though, so we'll see. Has anyone done too much damage to the Goodyear Eagles and potentially put themselves in a spot to have a blowout late in this race? Alex Murray to the inside of Timothy Harper. That's for the 4th spot. So a consolation, if you will, for Alex Murray if he's able to hold on to the 4th position and finish there, that he's going to get a great finish out of this race. Again, complete effort tonight for the 22 is what he needed to have, what he wanted to have, and appears to be what he's going to have if this thing stays on this path. But it would take a tire blowout at this point. And you're on pins and needles if you're Brandon Bowie. Really, if you're anybody in this lead fight, the top 3 cars, you're on pins and needles at this point, wondering if anything is going to halt this race one more time. Will anyone have a tire issue? Late in the going as Kyle Holden gets by Mark Sanchez. That's further back for the 11th spot. Speaking of, Sanchez slow to the apron in the 29 here.
I think he held on to it. Not going to be a blown tire here. Just had issues off the corner. But we haven't really talked about the cut line, haven't we, here tonight as much, because a lot of the cut line drivers haven't really risen to the occasion past to the top 10 yet. That being said, Greg Carr, he's 14 at a +7 cushion in terms of to compare to Garcia. +8 to Christensen is the difference for him. Christensen is definitely going to fall down the order tonight. Sanchez has an opportunity to tighten up the gap by a point or two to at least get to 17th after tonight as things hold. And then we also think about Johnny Shade, who's also been up and down the order. He's looking the wrong direction. The only person that's really stepped up, even in a minor way, for the cutoff with under 10 to go has been the 29. As hold on, race leader just hit the wall. Bowie had to hold on. That was a little bit of a stuff into the fence, wasn't it?
It was, and it brings Rogers right back to the party. Second life for the BMP 44. We're going to duel for it in Iowa. 6 laps to go, and here's the dive to the inside. Rogers back to the left side door. Brandon Bowie side by side for the win in Iowa. Bowie plays defense for now. Rogers' car, though, had been rotating better over the last 5 laps or so. His car is faster. Back to the inside. Rogers another dive. Almost can taste a clear call off turn 4. Can't quite do it. Bowie defends again. Drag race at the line with 5 to go.
5 laps to go. Who gets the edge is the question. Rogers looking for a second win. Meanwhile, Bowie's looking for win number 8. Bowie's trying to fight the machine in the older pavement. Goes higher to the 3rd groove. Little weeble, bobble, and it's the 44. Sean Rogers takes the lead, coming up 4 laps to go.
Trying to make it an undeniable night for him, but here's the lunge back to the inside. Bowie thought about it, thinks better on the banking of turn 1. The lap traffic in front, it's going to be really curious to me with 4 to go. I don't think they're going to play a factor. They had started to range back to the leaders. I don't think they'll play any sort of role in the finish of this race. It's really the question of, does Bowie have one more rally under the hood of that 35? Does he have one more push in him on these tires to get back to Rogers? He's pushing it now. We saw a big slide there off turn 4. Rogers continues to hold about a 3-car length lead. It'll be 2 to go when he comes back.
Coming up to the final few laps of this one. Rogers looking stable. Bowie trying to find something, anything. Or does he just take the points? Gallimore's right behind him, mind you. Also in the BMP camp. An hour wiggle for Bowie. The 35's rear tires are gone. Rogers keeping the gap up by 4/5 with a lap and 3/4 to go.
Bit of adversity with the pit call strategies, but similar to North Wilkesboro back in July, it just was not going to be denied for Sean Rogers, it appears, tonight. He'll come off turn 4. He'll make the race official right here. He's got to hit his marks a couple of more times. Really impressive tonight from Sean Rogers.
Elite Gaming 1 to go, now on the board. Rogers looking for his 2nd win in 3 races, both at short tracks. The BMP entry getting both stage wins tonight in the Corridor Automotive 250. The 44 maintains speed with the shortest run of the season on an oval. It's Rogers who gets another short track win. He does it at Iowa.
Undeniable for Sean Rogers. Similar again to a couple of weeks ago. A big night for him and a big night for the BMP team. I know Matt Cox doesn't finish where he wants to. Those cars were the strongest all night after about 20 laps or so. And that's a big win for Rogers. 2 wins in a month for Sean Rogers after none to start the season. Picking up heat at the right time.
Indeed, and a chance to celebrate coming up here for car number 44. Sean Rogers putting together a really good drive and then some tonight. It's Rogers who wins it again. So as Sean Rogers burns it out here, obviously it takes a lot of effort to get wins in this series, and we've seen Rogers be one of the fan favorites and the driver favorites in this series. For Rogers, adding wins like tonight is extremely helpful. We'll take a step aside when we come back. Post-race coverage. You're watching tonight's coverage on Precision Entertainment. Welcome back, everyone, to tonight's coverage here on Precision Entertainment. Take a look at your results here this evening, where Sean Rogers picks up what will be career win number 6 for him. That breaks his tie with Justin Belmonte in the order of the winners list. Bowie and Gallo are in the top 3 here tonight, with Alex Murray 4th, Timothy Harper in 5th. Feder Place was down at 6th, with Corey Moore here in the 7th position on his charge back up. Coffey, Owens, and Wilson were in the top 10, Dawson.
Yeah, some drives around the cut line back here towards the back half of the top 20. Kyle Holden, 11th for him. His recovery drive doesn't quite make it back to the top 10, but he'll take it in 11th. Jose Medina in 12th. Mark Sanchez, 13th. Greg Carr, 14th. Both cars we talked about down around the cut line. Both have nights that could have gone better for both those cars, but better than some around them in the points. Ryan Catalano in 15th. Kenny Real in 16th was as high at one point as 6th in this race. Jim Treat, 17th. Blake Hochschild, 18th. Chris Cornett, 19th. Good starts for all those cars. Went awry towards the middle stages. And Trevor Osbornoff rounds out the top 20.
21st goes to Johnny Shea tonight with Chris Davis in 22nd. Nigel Christensen down in 23rd with 7 laps down after his incident. Only drivers out, essentially, were Matt Cox, 56 with tech issues. Jeff Chandler pulled it down in 25th. So top to bottom of the order tonight at the Corridor Automotive 250. We get ready to go down to Victory Designs Victory Lane to talk things over. Of course, your top 3 going to have the chance to catch up with them in the next moments or so here. First up, Paul Galmore is catching up with Cody.
Hey, Paul.
Hello.
Obviously, a really, really great run and strong going for you. You know, just what was the strategy just heading into the last stage?
Keep the right rear on the damn thing, I guess. You know, a lot of people were having some issues with their right rears and whatnot. So I was able to, it was just maintain a certain pace, just stick with it. I had a lot more right rear to work with there at the end. I wish I'd pushed a little sooner to try to get to Bowie. I don't know if I had anything for Rogers, but I probably saved a little too much on that last run there to, to get up there and really mix it with the 2 guys up front. But hell, it was a solid night, good points night, good run all together. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Just overall, obviously, you're sitting 6th in the points right now. What sort of momentum does this set up for you in terms of getting ready for the playoffs?
Had some solid runs over the last month or 2, and you know, this is just setting us up for hopefully a good playoff, good chase run, good chase run here, and you know, maybe we're just finding our groove a little bit at the right time. Just got to make sure we carry it on through the chase. So, you know, just trying to stay solid. There's a lot of good guys in this, a lot of tough racers in this league, so nothing's given. You know, it's just been, I've been fortunate. We've hit a lot of tracks that I've kind of meshed with and meshed pretty well. So I'll take it, man. We're doing good as a team. You know, everything's clicking over there. So it's pretty rewarding.
Well, speaking of rewarding and meshing together, just take me about the lookout for Richmond. How are you guys feeling going into Richmond?
Richmond, I mean, it's, you know, Iowa and Richmond are, you know, a lot alike and a lot different. You know, the tire wear there isn't nearly as pronounced as it was here. So, you know, ran good there last year, I remember. Yeah. So I had a good run there last year, I think top 5. So I feel good. I feel like we'll be all right. I haven't turned too many laps there this week yet, but we'll get on it this at the end of this week and be ready by Wednesday.
Do you have anyone that you would like to thank or any special shout outs?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I want to, first I want to give Barry a shout out, man. He's going through some stuff, and I want to just say, hey, man, we missed you tonight, and hope to get you back soon. But of course, thank all my guys over at Beast Mode and everybody that helps put this thing together. Icon Apparel, they've sponsored the league and done a great job of supporting everything too. GMD Janitorial as well, and Chris over there, he helps a lot too. So yeah, a lot of good guys over at Beast Mode. Glad to be a part of it. And of course, thank you guys for putting on a really kick-ass broadcast, man. Y'all do a great job, man. Appreciate y'all.
Well, you have a great one as well. Nice speaking with you.
Thank you.
Over to you, Zach.
Yeah, thank you, Cody. That was Paul Gallimore finishing P3 here tonight, and I am standing next to the P2 finisher, Brandon Bowie, doing a great job. Unfortunately, Rogers got around you there with about 5 laps to go, and it was a good run between the two of you guys there, Bowie.
Yeah, I was just trying to hold on for dear life, honestly. There at the last kind of like 10 laps, it kind of fell apart. and me and Rogers have always raced clean, so I wanted to make sure make sure I gave him enough space. And I think he had one little bobble coming out of 4, and I was like, I don't know if I can hold him off, but I could tell he was still coming back, and I was like, yeah, like I'm not gonna be able to really hold him off. I mean, he was fast. I mean, him and Paul have been fast on the short track, so yeah, I'm happy with what I got right now. So.
Yeah, solid P2 finish there, and obviously Rogers doing a good job as well. The biggest question I have for you running as an independent now, leaving the Aero camp, how was that adjustment here tonight? Just sorting out the race, making setup changes on the fly. How'd you manage that running solo here?
Yeah, I had the up and downs during the race, just trying to understand, like, okay, like, what do I have? What do I need to do? The adjustments, etc. Kind of like you said. I kind of just paced myself. I mean, it kind of sucks. I kind of lost out on stage points there for stage 1, and then was just trying to just honestly manage the tires. Stage 2, kind of the same thing, and then once we got the long run, I was like, okay, I think I'm kind of figuring out what I need to do. Started to seem like make improvements and make forward progress. Came down Pick Road, took the 2 tires. Wasn't really sure if 50 laps on 2 tires would hold. Maybe with 40 laps to go, I'll probably hold off and snag a win. But yeah, it was. I mean, it was definitely sketchy at points with the lap cars and just trying to navigate them and trying to also not wreck myself or wreck anybody else. So all in all, fun race. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh, fun race for you. Head to Richmond next week, obviously. Before that, though, anyone you want to thank for the P2 finish?
Yeah, I gotta thank the Premier Setups. Of course, giving me fast setups week in and week out. I gotta thank Nico Garcia for painting this beautiful paint scheme that I got this week, and will probably be running for the rest of the season. Gotta thank you guys putting on the broadcast. Definitely want to give best wishes to Barry. I know he's going through some stuff right now, so well wishes to him and his family. My family, and that's about it.
Well, thank you, Brandon. We appreciate the kind words, of course, and we'll see you next week at Richmond.
All right, Zach.
Awesome job for Brandon Bowie, and we're going to head over to Victory Designs Victory Lane. JP is standing with your race winner, Sean Rogers.
Yes, indeed, and Sean Rogers coming away with another win out of short track, 2 wins in 3 races, Sean. It seemed like long run was the key. Talk us through that battle as you try to get it done with older tires than Bowie.
Yeah, I started to get worried there with 20, 25 to go. I know he took the 2 tires and he stayed out a little longer. So I was wondering if maybe splitting in half wasn't the right strategy. But it looked like he fell off a little bit more than maybe he was anticipating. And then it was just a bare knuckles battle there for a little while. It was a little nerve wracking. Finally did get him clear. I almost wrecked myself probably with 10 to go, as I thought that was the end, but I had saved just enough to finally get up there and complete the pass, and then it was just trying to hold him off. So great run. Unfortunately, what happened to Cox, it would have been nice to see us two up there as well, but all in all, good night. Obviously can't complain about a win.
And obviously you talked about having the notes in the first place to help with the long run at a track like this as well. How do you feel about finding your stride as yourself as a driver at probably the right time, especially approaching the chase?
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's partially tracks are kind of lining up for me. I like short tracks, as it's kind of as we can kind of see here. But yeah, tracks are lining up, and yeah, we're definitely building some momentum coming into the chase. So, I'm trying to get myself the best seating possible. I'm hoping to, try to get, I think I'm 6th. If I can get into 5th or 4th, we'll see. But yeah, it's all about getting the seating, and it's great building the momentum. And, it's always good to see, you get a couple wins and, you got more confidence coming into each race. So it's definitely something we're building towards.
So on that note, How do you feel about how yourself matches up with a very similarly shaped track in Richmond coming up?
Love the track. It's much different than here. This is a intermediate disguised as a short track. But I'm a big fan of Richmond. I haven't done any laps yet. I've been purely focused on here, especially with the tire wear and how rough it can be. So yeah, I haven't tried it. Haven't turned any laps yet, but we'll be ready to go come Wednesday.
Any shows you'd like to add in here tonight?
Yeah, shout out to Icon Apparel. They've been a sponsor of mine for a long time, so it's good to have them on the ride. Shout out to a couple super fans. I had my dad and Gwenny watching. They've only watched a handful of races, and I've won a handful, so maybe they're my good luck charms. Who knows? Shout out to all the guys at BMP. We work hard all week. Dial in sets and dialing in the line and all of that. So big shout out to them. Shout out to Barry and all the other admins, for putting on this great league. It's great league to race in. And then obviously shout out to you guys. You guys are the best in the business as always. So look forward to going back and watching this one.
Congratulations on going to Victory Designs Victory Lane once again. As, by the way, this moves you up to win number 6, believe, in your career tonight.
Yep, slowly but surely, we're climbing.
Slowly but surely indeed. But hey, it does break that lock with Justin Belmonte you had. It puts you around the top 10 or so in the wins list. Congrats.
Thanks, guys.
Sean Rogers rounds out our top 3 discussions. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on Precision Entertainment. On that note here, Dawson, your final thoughts on Iowa Speedway here tonight as we went green except for the stage cautions. Those were the only 2, and technically speaking, those were the only times we had an incident at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Talking about final thoughts, a lot more of a tire race than what we're used to, even in Iowa, a place that eats tires naturally. Just the updates that we've gotten to this car and this racetrack had really set us up for a tire attrition race. I said attrition race at the beginning, thinking it would race more like a short track tonight. It ended up becoming a tire attrition race. Again, very similar to what we saw at Bristol a couple of times over the last couple of years in the real life circuit. So I love strategy races. They are my favorite types of races to call. I was really leaning into it tonight. It was a lot of fun to watch and seeing drivers try to pit twice and seeing it almost work, and the drivers that run long and trying to see if that would work, and seeing which strategy would work. Obviously, you heard Bowie there. He took 2 tires on his last stop and ran 50 laps on them. So it's the difference in strategies, the driver creativity, the team creativity is always so fun to me. It makes a race so much more interesting when that does happen. So for Iowa, a fun one and a huge win for Sean Rogers. Again, he's got 2 dominant short track wins over the last month or so. And where do we head next week? Another one. And you heard him say he loves that track too. We could be looking at a situation where Rogers could go 3 for 3 on short tracks here in the months of July and August to try to make it another one next week at Richmond. This place will race more like a typical short track Saturday night, and like you'd see on the late model scene, a lot of bumping and banging, tempers flaring, and potentially some more chaos, some more attrition in that one next week. The lead up to the chase continues tonight. A good one. Next week we'll have its fireworks as well for sure.
It's going to be an interesting one next week, but remember, upcoming in the broadcast, we have tomorrow night. It's going to be MLSR back on the racetrack for B Open. They're at Michigan for an 8 p.m. start. Be sure to tune in. Then this upcoming Saturday, on the 15th, we go racing UIS at Texas. That will also be actually a 9 p.m. start, should say, rather than 8 p.m. on that docket. On Sunday, MLSR will be at Iowa for the Cup Series, the A Open machines at 8 p.m. Then it's back to the trucks for them on Tuesday when they go for their trip to Texas. It's going to be an interesting time for this upcoming weekend. And remember, if you want yourself on the broadcast network, be sure to email hello@precisionspeedsolutions.com or go to goprecision.live to learn more. On that note, it's time to say goodbye for tonight's coverage. For everyone here in the broadcast booth, for my colleague in the booth, for Dawson Wise, for our pit reporters, it's Zach Case and Cody Banta. Our producer was Howie Burrows. Our cameras were from Whiplash SimCams. I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in for tonight's coverage here on Precision. I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching tonight's coverage of the Moonshiners Racing League and the GMD Janitorial Cup Series. It's Sean Rogers, who comes away with a win in the Corridor Automotive 250 in Iowa. We'll see you next time from Richmond.